Morning,
Good morning.
Paul, AJC, Steve, Mark, Felipe. How is everybody?
Delightful.
Sleep deprived as always.
How's the move working out?
Well, I barely have time in the day to, think about where to put shit, but good,
Well,
I guess.
Well, once you get it there, you have plenty of time.
Well, I don't know. I come home and I just want to sleep.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying the key is to move it. Once you move it, you got plenty of time.
And the Wi-Fi don't work.
Now, that's a problem.
Got the box and everything, and it won't connect.
Comcast?
Yeah, Xfinity, but yeah, same thing.
I cut the cord yesterday. They raised my bill. Talked to them last month. No, you're month to month. Everything's the same. Bill goes up. They won't take the $70 up. Like, cancel everything. Florida, they won't prorate it either, so I had to pay. Nothing like burning $70 just for no real reason.
If you had canceled 2 days earlier, I mean,
Correct.
what would...
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you on the first football Friday of August. Hope your week has gone well. Thanks for wrapping it up with us. How the heck are you? We're Miller and Moulton. This is the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Magic numbers are getting so small. 22, 27, and 34. For goodness sakes, 3, 4, and 5 weeks away, basically, from when the football season begins, according to you. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, David. I watched guys hit each other in uniforms that I recognized for a little while last night. It was fantastic. Canton, Ohio has never looked quite so beautiful.
Did it, and you know the vein in which I am asking this question, but since we brought up earlier in the week how excited your wife was just at the thought of there being, quote, football, unquote, on. So did the football get her excited last night?
Not as much as I was hoping for, David. Not as much as I was hoping for.
Well, I probably need regular season action for that, Mark.
Must be. Hey, look, football's on. I'm going to bed. Great.
You could watch it here. No? Okay. All right. Maybe I'll come join you. All right, we'll see. Well, it's only a Thursday. All right.
Exactly. Got to wait till the weekend if we're lucky.
Got to wait till Saturday, Mark. Got to wait till Saturday. Can I ask a semi-serious question this early in the show?
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if maybe this is our early show theme, or maybe it's just our poll question. But is everybody okay with all this realignment? I mean, are you okay with it? I mean, is this for the better? Are you going to feel better about college sports and your conference, your team in your conference? I mean, it looks as if the dominoes, they are really a-falling now. Today it'll be Arizona. Could also be Arizona State and Utah. And if that's not today, it's expected to be no later than like Monday. And then once that happens, apparently the Pacific Northwest is going to end up in the Big Ten even though one of the two schools is essentially being dragged into the Big Ten, which asks the question, well, then why should the Big Ten or that school get together at all? I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, is this where they've gone too far? When all these dominoes fall, and we're going to have Josh Graham on in 2.5 hours. He broadcasts from the heart of ACC country. He is not happy with Florida State. He is not happy with the tea leaves and what is out there and could possibly happen to his beloved conference.
You know, David, it's an interesting question. And as a Big Ten guy, I don't like Rutgers and Maryland in my conference now.
Right.
So I don't like this.
Okay.
But there's not and you know this when you ask the question. If there's ever been a time that there's literally nothing as a sports fan we can do about it, this is clearly one of those times. Yeah, you can quit watching and you can quit going and hurt the sport that way. I get it. But it's not like the NFL where, if you talked about the Giants where season ticket holders just quit showing up 40 years ago. There's been teams in which you can act on your pro football franchise at least and feel that you're getting something. I guess outside of you can quit showing up and you can quit watching.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, TV networks are now clearly, we've been trying to tell you for years. I know we're a couple of yahoos. Okay. I know, believe me, we've seen the comments. We know what you think of us, but we've been trying to tell you for a long time. Okay. The TV networks are running the sport. And now even you are coming to the realization, wow, the TV networks are really running this sport. Yeah. This ain't a sport to them. This is programming. That's all this is. They're replacing sitcoms and dramas with your favorite conference and your favorite team. They don't give a damn at all. And in theory, though, Mark, if we were to stop watching, that'd be a problem. Wouldn't it? The TV networks are running what is it they're doing all of this for? To have us watch, advertising, revenue. Now, it takes a while. It doesn't happen right away. What if all of a sudden your beloved Michigan State Spartans have 10, 15,000 less season ticket holders, in which like, I don't give a damn that Oregon's on the schedule. This doesn't. I'd literally rather play Purdue.
The majority of these schools, however, don't think that way. They think about the one or two games that they do play that matter. And that's what the sport and the networks are creating this on. Michigan State doesn't rate, but when they play Michigan, more eyeballs are on it. Minnesota doesn't necessarily rate, but all of a sudden they get their one game. The Iowa game probably does a little better than others. And you're not going to get the fan base to stay away from rivalry games.
The problem is they're breaking up rivalry games. I mean, for whatever reason, apparently the president of Arizona State really doesn't want to go to the Big 12. He's a Pac-12 guy. And he knows if he goes over the cliff with Arizona, that the conference is dead. Because then they'll take another Pac-12 school and the Pac-12 will be down to 6. And then it'll likely lead to the two schools in the Pacific Northwest leaving, that there's a chance to keep the Pac-12 together if Arizona State stays. Then Utah, because then the Big 12 stops with their invitations. And then in theory, it's the Pac-8. And then really there's a burden on Oregon and Washington. Do they stay or do they go? And you could actually make the case, why don't you stay and be the leaders of the conference? That's your ticket to the playoff, blah, blah, blah. Add a Boise and a San Diego State around it and have you be the big dogs in the conference. So Arizona State is apparently the school that the conference's future, many people feel, is tipping on. And their president really does not want to go to the Big 12.
Neither does their alumni.
Right.
And their fan base. They're Southern. I mean, a lot of students go from Southern California to Arizona State.
Yes. Yes. Okay. But think about it. If they don't go and Arizona goes, Arizona and Arizona State aren't going to play each other. I mean, Oregon and Oregon State, if Oregon and Washington go to the Big Ten, you mean to tell me we're not going to have the Civil War and the Apple Cup?
That's on those schools, though, because there's no reason why those games shouldn't be played. No reason whatsoever.
Okay. You tell me why UCF and USF aren't playing.
There's no reason why they shouldn't be playing, David.
Of course they should. They're fans, even though UCF fans are angry at South Florida, and South Florida did mistreat UCF 10 and 15 years ago. They did many times want to block them so that they weren't on equal footing. So I get the revenge. I do. I can hold a grudge. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, come on, you want to play them. You want to beat them, but you want to play them. It's a game that excites you. If you have a 7-4 season and it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving or the Friday, because that's when that game's been played lately, because it's got national television, okay, what's a way that you can tap off the season? Well, beat our rival. I mean, really? Cincinnati's your rival? West Virginia's your rival? Houston's your rival? What, Texas Tech? Come on now. 75 miles to the west. We hate those guys. I want to play them. I want to beat them. I mean, hell, it's possible Florida State and Miami could be in different conferences. Are they going to keep playing each other?
I would hope so.
I would too, but if you're scheduling 9 and 10 conference games, and then you need the 1 or 2 layups on your schedule because we need wins after all, got to go to the Peach Bowl.
And that's one of the things I'm hoping with the 12-team playoff will come to pass. And 10 conference games sounds delightful. Can't even get the SEC to play 9.
I mean, that's another thing. There's been a lot said and written in the last few days about this topic. But one guy said, listen, if you're the SEC, do you want to add Florida State and Clemson, or would you rather have a 9th or a 10th conference game? I'll ask the question of ESPN. What would you rather have? In theory, you got to pay for both. What would you rather pay for? More conference games of a 16-team conference or less conference games of an 18-team conference? I got to admit, I'd check A. I'm just wondering, Mark. I'm just wondering.
Well, and I think you're onto something, but I just don't. We never react in a way to change it. We don't have the discipline to turn our televisions off on Saturdays. To have a mass movement to say this is too much.
So this isn't it. That's basically what I'm wondering. Is this it? Listen, I know Gator fans. They love their Gators. Can't imagine that they'd ever stop watching Gator football. How are you going to feel if Florida State's in your conference? Come on. Come on. We know how you feel about Florida State. Think about all the things you've said about Florida State. Okay, and what was the one thing you could always hang your hat on? Well, they're not the equal to us, for goodness sakes. I mean, what conference are they in? Give me a break.
I can't wait till Florida State's playing Michigan and all you Florida fans are chanting SEC, SEC.
Or Florida State joins the Big Ten and they're making more money than you. Listen, not to sound naive and idealistic and what have you, but I'm probably going to end up sounding naive and idealistic during the course of the show today. This is not what college sports is about. Money's always been a big part of college sports, but rivalries have been the biggest part of college sports. The angst and the rivalries have been the oxygen to the sport, and now that oxygen is being removed. And apparently you don't need it to survive.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Paul, that's actually the truth. This is no longer collegiate football. This is professional football played by college kids, college-aged kids.
Yep. That's an interesting trio, Adam.
One of them might go to a bowl game. Although I have not really dug, believe it or not, I've not paid much attention to the Pac-12 at all. I don't even know. Is Arizona State going to be any good this year? What's Phil say?
I don't think so.
I didn't either.
Arizona is supposed to be around middle of the pack, which is a good showing for them. I will say that coach is doing a solid job. He's doing it the right way there. And that's right, Ambient. Pat Kirwan is back on. Let's go! Are we channeling our inner Tom Brady here? LFG.
Hell, MMFG.
Wow. Stands for Miller and Moulton, right?
Right.
Thought so.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Our first football Friday of August. Magic numbers 22 until week 0 of the college football season. 27 days away, 4 weeks last night. Florida would be in Utah. What conferences are those teams in again? And UCF will play their first ever game as a member of the Big 12, 27 nights from now. And we are 34 nights away from the Lions and Chiefs and the kickoff of the 2023 NFL season. Preseason got underway last night with the Hall of Fame game. All I know is there was a power outage. Saw a picture of Aaron Rodgers sitting in the dark at the beginning of the fourth quarter on the sidelines. I mean, insert jokes here. You know, is that something we look back on 5 months from now as to how the Jets season went? Is this a precursor? Or is the franchise emerging from the darkness this year? So
late turnovers in the red zone. That could be a theme of the Jet season. That would be fun.
Anybody commit them who's actually going to be playing on September 11th against the Bills? Oh, okay. All right.
No one played who was going to be.
Gotcha.
It's the fourth quarter for crying out loud.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I didn't want you putting any weight on this. That's all. Just throwing out there whether or not, listen, it's great sports talk radio. I mean, don't know if there's a better sport for sports talk radio than college football. It's a sport based on opinion. And they've always paid for coaches and players under the table. I mean, could you have a better sport for sports talk radio? If sports talk radio didn't have this sport, we would have gotten together, had a Zoom call, and created it because we needed something to talk about. So this is an awesome topic, this college sports realignment. Awesome. But, I mean, are they going too far this time?
You know, we thought this was coming. We talked about it the last go round. We thought it'd be 4 16-team conferences. Now it looks like it's going to be 2 20-team conferences, 2 24-team conferences, and the Big 12.
Well, or 2 24-team conferences in the SEC. I mean, the SEC, Sankey's still standing there with his arms crossed going, could somebody make the case why we need to go beyond 16? Which we've only been saying for 2 years. I mean, listen, we love Florida State, love Miami, know Clemson's value, any other school out there. We've stood there outside of Notre Dame. Why in the world would the SEC expand?
And for that matter, why would the Big Ten expand?
Well, why do they need? I mean, Washington apparently last night did something pretty funny. So here's Washington in trouble, right? I mean, the conference that they're in's on, shall we say, shaky ground. And the Big Ten has apparently said to Oregon and Washington, the Fox, CBS, and NBC, they're not going to kick in to give you guys a full share. I mean, they're just not going to do it. So would you take a half a share? Because then this way, all three networks could kick in an extra $25 million a year. We'll take the $75 million. We'll split it up between the two of you. You each get about 37.5. That's half. You get half. Can you live with half for 6-7 years? And then you'll get a full share our next deal. You'll be a full member come 2031 and beyond. But for right now, if you need a place to stay, we can only give you half. And Washington's apparently said, no, we need 10 million more than that to cover our travel. Now that's some onions, don't you think? And that
it's huge onions.
because
the Big Ten could look at you and say, okay, then the deal's off the table. North Carolina, you interested?
Well, just
Miami?
say we'll stay at 16. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck in the Pac-8 or 6 if Arizona State and Utah leave this weekend, which it seems like they are. So good luck. Not sure, by the way, Apple's 20 million off. Apparently, Apple's given like the Pac-12 through the weekend to accept. They're also not waiting around anymore. They're like, the deal's good till like August 7th. Yes or no? Do you want us? Mark, I don't want to say the Pac-12's on shaky ground. This commissioner can't even get another meeting. Do you know how easy it is to hold a meeting these days? I mean, doesn't it take like 8 links? You just send a link out to all your members. Here, click on this at a certain time.
Yes, David. It's never been easier.
Right.
To have a meeting.
Which sucks because we all hate meetings and nothing productive gets done in 98% of all meetings. But it's never been easier to waste time than it is now. And he can't even get the other members on the phone, computer, iPad. Could you click on this link? I don't know. Very busy. But tell me, honestly, you're the Big Ten, Oregon and Washington?
I've said it all along. I don't get it. And don't give me this travel partners out west. I know USC and UCLA would love to have a couple more West Coast teams. I don't know what to tell you, USC and UCLA. You're in. You're getting a full share.
Well, also
say thank you. No, say thank you and have a nice day.
Well, and also, like you pointed out, it's 1,200 miles from Seattle to LA. I mean, that's not a travel partner. This isn't South Florida and UCF. This isn't even Florida State and Miami, which is a haul. Anybody ever driven north-south in California? I mean, trust me, Washington and USC are not travel partners. Not only that, USC and UCLA, they want no part of Oregon and Washington. I mean, listen, we all know why they left. They left for the money, but part of it was USC wanted to get away from Oregon because they know they've got a cash register in Phil Knight. They're like, it's tough to compete with these guys. They're a problem that's seemingly not going to go away. I'm just wondering, is this when they've gone too far? That it all, NIL, transfer portal, all the conference realignment, is this when the college fan kind of turns and goes, what the hell am I watching?
Have you gotten that from anyone? And I'm being serious when I ask that. Is your phone blown up with college football fan being angry? Because mine hasn't.
Angry, no. I have in the last year and change had communication with people talking, texting, and what have you, who don't enjoy it the way they used to. They have a problem with NIL. They have a problem with the transfer portal. Now they're going to have more problems even with this.
Yeah, and I've had that. I mean, the NIL thing's been a problem. They wanted their athletes paid in brown paper bags. God forbid this came above board.
Yes, that's the truth.
Cheating
Marty.
was fine.
Yes.
If we could out cheat you, then we're
Yes.
doing our job better. But God
Yep.
forbid we put this above board and the players actually get paid.
Right.
I can't handle that.
Right. Even though they've been semi-pro players for 50 years, now that I know for a fact they're semi-pro players, that's a problem.
But the conference realignment's not the thing that's got fans upset to me. It gets them excited when I talk to them more than it gets them upset. But NIL, that was the end.
I mean, there are a few people that I know that to them NIL is what LIV is to golf. They're just like, nah, I'm done. This is ridiculous. I'll just watch the NFL. I don't need Saturdays anymore. It's not college.
No, it's pro sports. They're just wearing your
Alma
mater's colors.
Totally. Yeah. But, you turn it into a multi-billion-dollar industry all about the money. At some point, the product's going to go, well, then don't we have to get paid? I mean, this is America, after all. Eventually, the workers, although they're not employees, the workers stand up and go, you do have to pay us at some point, right?
The starting five is next right here on Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Two things, David. The Bro Bible just put an article, or I just saw it. Apparently, this Arena Football League, cities don't even know they're getting teams that were named as cities that have teams.
So in other words, they're all in.
Like the guy's name associated with Bakersfield doesn't exist. No, I mean this is like the 30 for 30. And the other one, did you see Zuckerberg's McDonald's order? Zuckerberg's apparently eating like 4,000 calories a day as he's training to be an MMA fighter against Elon Musk.
Gotcha.
They have his McDonald's order, and I think you'd just call it wimpy.
Nice. Okay, RCB, we've only addressed this 143 times. It's really simple. Is Greg Sankey going to give up all the power he has and answer to a commissioner? Is Tony Petitti going to give up all the power he has with the Big Ten and answer to someone else? No. So there's no vested interest in these conferences electing a commissioner. It'd be better for the fans. You know, in theory, wouldn't this have been the role of, I don't know, wait for it, the NCAA? Problem is the NCAA hasn't run big-time college football since the mid-'80s.
And the other side of it is even fans, the Big Ten presidents and SEC presidents would never allow their commissioner to, they wouldn't allow it.
Right.
I mean, screw the commissioners. I mean, just take them out of it, because let's just say that the presidents actually run the universities and could make that change. They wouldn't want someone not taking their best interest at heart, and they think they have that with a commissioner.
Yeah, but August, like when the controversy was going on with Kaepernick and, you know, the kneeling.
10 seconds.
NFL ratings went down almost 10%. I mean, people do actually stop watching and going to sports.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. A reminder, floridasportsnetwork.com. That's where you go to sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit. It's a week from Tuesday. I mean, you know, we got to get this thing in so you can get all the info that you need so that A, you crush your fantasy draft, and then B, you're ready to go for the season, which begins in 34 days. So
Let's go. Sign up for this thing. We need to get the numbers up, need to get this thing closed out.
Yeah. I mean, you want us to stop promoting it, right? Once it's sold out, we don't mention it again, except to say it's brought to you by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up a week from Tuesday at the Bell Tower Crown Plaza in Fort Myers.
Dinner in Dr. Roto. Hell, his wife might even go. It's a chance for her to have dinner with Dr. Roto. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Okay. This is the best we can tell what's gone on since we all went to bed. The Arizona Board of Regents met last night. Arizona's headed to the Big 12 today. The Big 12's already said they're extending the invite. Arizona's already indicated they're going to accept. So that's happening. That'll make 14 teams. The Big 12's willing to go to 16. Arizona State, however, is undecided. Their university president really doesn't want to go to the Big 12. He's a loyal Pac-12 guy. He even thought Larry Scott did a hell of a job as commissioner. Yeah, exactly. If Arizona State goes with Arizona, which, by the way, the Arizona Board of Regents wants them to do, then that'll make 15. The Big 12 will extend an invitation to someone else. That someone is expected to be Utah. If Arizona State does not go, then the expectation is Utah will stay in the Pac-12 with Arizona State. Oregon and Washington each held special meetings last night. They didn't come to any conclusions except to decide that Oregon definitely wants to go to the Big Ten. Washington, well, we're willing to go, but we need you to kick in $10 million more than what you're willing to give us. And reportedly, the Big Ten's only willing to give Oregon and Washington a half share between 35 and 40 million for these next 6-7 years because, well, that's all Fox, CBS, and NBC will pay. But they're promising Oregon and Washington, hey, once we get the new TV deal, you'll get a full share, equal to everybody else. So Washington's, bartering with the Big Ten right now. We'll see how that goes. On to baseball. Not good news for the Rays and lefty ace Shane McClanahan. He's on the IL. Tests on his left pitching forearm did not find a specific injury per se, but he has soreness on the outside of his forearm. They're doing more tests today, trying to find something. Basically, why does it hurt, Doc? We don't know. On the field, the Rays didn't play, but the Orioles did, and they took 3 out of 4 from the Jays in Toronto. They won 6-1. Baltimore's lead's now a full 2 over the Rays. Jack Flaherty, who Baltimore acquired from St. Louis, he made his debut yesterday, 6 innings, a 1-run ball. Yankees, meanwhile, have won 2 in a row. And Stanton homered for the second straight game. Well, that'd be something if Giancarlo Stanton could actually show up for the last 2 months. Maybe they'd have a chance. They beat Houston 4-3. They're 2.5 behind Toronto for the wild card. Final wild card. Texas gained a game on the Astros. They beat the White Sox 5-3. Max Scherzer's Rangers debut. He gave up 3 in the first and then threw 5 shutout innings afterwards. So he got the win. Texas's lead's now a full game and a half in the West. Houston is technically the 5 seed. The Twins gained a half game on the Guardians. They beat the Cardinals 5-3 by scoring 4 in the second. Their lead in the Central's 2.5. They're the only team above 500 in the division. Meanwhile, the Marlins ended up losing 3 out of 4 to the Phillies. Phils doubled them up 4-2. Michael Lorenzen, the big Phillies trade acquisition at the deadline, came over for the Tigers. 8 innings of 2-run ball, matching the longest start for any Phillies starter this year.
David, a little other Marlins news. It's old by a day, but I think we should update you because you talked about this. Jake Berger made his debut on Wednesday night. They did the $5 burgers.
Right, burgers.
They sold 2,100 burgers at that Wednesday night game. For a comparison, last Saturday with 32,000 in attendance, they sold 530 burgers.
So let me get this straight. When they had 32,000, they sold 500 burgers at $13 a burger.
Correct.
When they reduced the burgers to $5 a burger and they had 12,000 in the house, how many burgers did they sell?
2,100.
So 4 times as many burgers when you cut the price of the burger. You mean that's like in Atlanta when they made the concessions the cheapest in the NFL, and they lead the NFL in what, Mark?
Concession sales.
Right. Wow. It's an unbelievable concept. Maybe some others should try it sometime.
I probably shouldn't have even brought this up because this is one of Moulton's pet peeves, and he's already fired up this morning.
Don't get, I mean, just how much they pay for parking. Anyway, 16,709 showed up. So they did just under 10, 12 and change, and 16.7. So they did, less than 50,000 for the 4-game series against the Phillies, the biggest series in the history of that stadium. They averaged about 12,000 a game.
And we thank you.
And the Marlins, even though no one apparently cares, just a half a game behind the Reds for the final playoff spot in the National League, because the Reds are no longer in first, Mark. They lost their third straight to the Cubs, 5-3. The Cubs are only 2.5 back of Milwaukee. 2 weeks ago, they were done. Put a fork in them. Milwaukee beat Pittsburgh 14-1. They had not one, not two, not three, but 4 3-run innings in that game. So Milwaukee leads the Reds by a half a game and the Cubs by 2.5. The Reds are technically the 6th seed, a half a game ahead of Miami for the final playoff spot in the National League. Break up the Royals. They've won 6 in a row. They beat the Mets 9-2. Dodgers sweep the A's 8-2. Freddie Freeman with 3 more hits and a homer. If it wasn't for Acuna, he'd be having a really good year. Giants beat Arizona 1-0. They're the number 1 wild card right now in the National League. They're the 4 seed. They're 2.5 back of the Dodgers. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks are slipping. Bad. They're actually sinking. Okay. They are 6.5 back of the Dodgers. All right. They're a game and a half back for the 6th seed in the National League. Seattle jumped the Angels in the standings by scoring 4 in the 9th and beating LA 5-3. So Ohtani hit his 40th homer, and he threw 4 shutout innings. But they took him out from pitching because of cramps. That's the third
time
in the last week that he's had to leave a game because of cramps. This is the first time he was pitching. By the way, he had 2 hits, walked twice, scored 2 runs, had a stolen base, hit a homer, threw 4 shutout innings. But the Angels have lost 3 in a row, and they're 4 out in the wild card. Seattle's 2.5 out in the wild card. Yankees, by the way, put Anthony Rizzo on the IL with a concussion. When did he suffer the concussion? They think in the 3rd week of May. You heard me. They think they suffered the concussion 10, 11 weeks ago. The medical staff just got around to diagnosing it. Here's a clue. In the first 7 weeks of the season, he was hitting over 300 with 11 homers. Since the play in question, he was hitting $170 with 1 homer. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I bet I would have come to this conclusion sooner than the Yankees medical staff. Twins, by the way, called up 35-year-old former Cy Young Award winner Dallas Keuchel, who was not ready to give it up and apparently went to AAA and pitched really well. So, all right. NFL Hall of Fame game last night. Browns rally from a 16.
Don't know how this wasn't the lead.
From a 16-7 deficit. All right. And they beat the Jets 21-16. That's a win and a cover. There was a power outage at the beginning of the 4th quarter. That was the highlight of the game. Anyway, the Bears signed Yannick Ngakoue to a 1-year, $10.5 million deal. That's a very good signing. Mark, for as much as I hated the Bears 2022 offseason, I've really liked their 2023 draft and offseason so far. All right. They were last in the NFL or damn near with only 22 sacks. So imagine that. They had money and they signed a guy who does what?
Gets 8 to 10 sacks every year.
What a novel idea. It's kind of like if you need help with your running game. And I don't know, there's a Dalvin Cook or a Leonard Fournette available. I don't know. It's just a thought. By the way, Texans center Scott Quisenberry tore his ACL. Broncos linebacker Jonas Griffith tore his ACL. One other note. Did you hear the announcement the NFL made yesterday? Right now, if you do something wrong before you enter the NFL, the NFL can't do anything to you. You're not a member of the NFL. You're not a member of the Players Association. Well, the NFL's now said, yeah, we're going to punish you. I'm sorry. Is that legal? I know.
Their league, their rules.
Really? There's rules and there's laws. Are you sure that's legal? Okay. It's bad enough. Listen, you screw up and you drop in the draft because of it. Isn't that the punishment for screwing up? Now the league can punish you as well. You're not in the league. You're not in the union. That would be like your mom disciplining me.
Back in my neighborhood, that was allowed, David. I don't know where you grew up, but in my neighborhood, Mrs. Gillis could punish me. And my parents were fine with it.
Come to think of it, if my mom agreed with what the other parent said, she was fine with it too, and she doubled down. Yeah, that's a good point. So the PGA Tour, they didn't officially release their schedule, but the golf media actually dug it up for next year. Hey, remember, what's one of the big beefs with the LIV? No cuts. Come on, it's not a real tour. Hey, they don't even have cuts. So the PGA Tour is going to have these 8 designated events, the big money events. First off, by the way, the players are not mandated to play in them next year, which they were mandated to play in them this year. 12 designated events, Mark. How many of the 12 will there be a cut for?
I know they took cuts away of some.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 8 are having cuts and 4 aren't.
No, the other way around, Mark. Yeah. Only 4 of the 12 will have cuts.
Okay.
Yeah. The Players, the Genesis Invitational, Jack's Tournament, and Arnie's Tournament. Those will be the 4. By the way, Pebble Beach this year will be a designated event. The field's gotten so bad, they got to throw a bunch of money at it. The Olympics are next year, so the whole FedEx Cup thing is going to be a week later. So normal PGA Tour year that we all remember, there's no events, this fall. It's all in a calendar year. It's going to start in January. It's going to go through the FedEx Cup, and then we're going to have the fall series. So 39 events next year. PGA Tour is going to officially announce it middle of next week. Russell Henley, lift clean in place, was in effect in rainy North Carolina. He shot an 8 under 62 to lead the Wyndham. Justin Thomas is even par. He's tied for 68th. If he doesn't pick it up, he's not going to qualify for the FedEx Cup. And most people think if he doesn't qualify for the FedEx Cup, how the blank could it be on the Ryder Cup team? Hanako Shibono shot 8 under at the Scottish Open, and the Japanese golfer leads it by 2. And Germany did not advance in the Women's World Cup. First time ever. They've made it, in fact, to at least the quarterfinals in every previous Women's World Cup. They did not advance. It's been a World Cup full of upsets. And the U.S. is an underdog against Sweden, 5 a.m. Sunday on Fox. By the way, 1.7 million people watched the match at 3 a.m.
That's impressive.
I agree.
It really and truly is.
And it's 7 minutes before the hour. That was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Well, David described it as a football Friday. We'll do our best to make that happen. Pat Kirwan to join us on the show at 8 o'clock. He's already on his training camp tour, so we'll get the rundown from Pat of where he's been, what's going on at those camps, and Josh Graham, who's not happy with Florida State. He covers the ACC in the heart of ACC country. He'll join us in the 8 o'clock hour as well. Thanks so much for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on 5th Avenue in Naples.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, Wes, I will say this. In the 2020 season of the pandemic, when all non-conference games got eliminated and the SEC just played amongst themselves, the fans loved it. And God knows CBS didn't mind. Sled Puppy, I don't know what an archipelago is.
It's thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to be that guy.
It's like a collection of islands. Like I believe Japan is an archipelago.
Gotcha. Like, so Hawaii?
Yeah, but I think there's technicalities to it because I think it has to come off of some sort.
Good
Actually,
talk.
I don't know.
So are you saying that
It has something to do with islands.
So in other words, Revis has gotten fat? Is that what we're saying?
I didn't think so. Saw him get interviewed last night. He didn't look fat to me.
Yeah, a group or cluster or chain of islands. So yeah, Hawaii.
Hawaii counts, right?
Yeah. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. It's the first such Football Friday of August. Hall of Fame game was last night. Little taste. 34 days away from Lions and Chiefs. 22 days away from week 0. Notre Dame, Navy, and Ireland. USC's in action. I think there's like 9 games being played 3 weeks from tomorrow. College football season gets underway in earnest in 4 Thursdays. Gators in Utah. Will it be Utah's final year in the Pac-12? UCF, a member of the Big 12. It's another reason why Florida State's losing their mind, Mark. I mean, they now realize UCF's getting more TV money than they are.
That would cause me to lose my mind.
So, I mean, if you're upset with Florida State, you're the North Carolina AD and you feel that basically they should, shut up, just do things behind closed doors. If you want to leave, just keep your mouth shut. Okay. But I think you can understand a little bit. Them in Miami, you're like, I'm sorry, wait, UCF's making more than we are? Really? Well, they did have that undefeated season 5 years ago, but still. Huh.
And they're making not even a full share yet.
Right. Wait until the real money starts kicking in. So we got that going on, the whole conference realignment thing. Hey, very quickly, by the way, if you're Arizona State, Utah, Oregon, Washington, I'm being serious about this. Top 6 conference champions make the playoff. If you're Oregon and Washington, you ever going to make the playoff in the Big Ten?
Unlikely.
I mean, obviously, it's, let's just say one year the Big Ten gets at least 3, maybe 4 schools.
Actually, that's not true. Oregon will make the playoff in the Big Ten.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. That's impressive to me. That would be impressive. I don't know how many times in 10 years USC is going to make the playoff.
It depends how quickly they reshape this when conferences go away, if they're going to take away any conferences from the automatic bids. You and I have talked about this. We don't think they'll be able to.
Why?
Lawsuits.
Bingo. I mean, that's the only reason they're allowing this top 6 conference champions. It's so that the non-quote-unquote power conferences don't sue. And most people think they'd win. I mean, do you really think Greg Sankey and Tony Batiti would put a system together that would allow the Mountain West champion, if they're good enough, to get a spot in the playoff over the 4th best team in their conference, unless they knew they were going to lose in court?
But if a conference goes away, and this is where the Pac-12 completely disintegrating there could be language in there if there are less conferences that they redo this, David. I don't know. I would think if there are less conferences, they could redo that.
I don't think the I's have been dotted and T's have been crossed, so I guess the number could go down. But I actually think it would be, better. I think it would make the power 2 or 3 look even better if they kept the number at 6. Actually, hey, just because the Pac-12 disintegrated and we don't think of it as a major conference anymore, we're not going to hold it against them. It's okay. If their champion's good enough, they get in.
And David, I'm not arguing the point that if they still exist as a conference that it wouldn't change. What I'm saying is if a conference goes away,
right.
That's the only thing I'm talking. I'm not talking about if a conference is lessened from 12 members to 8 members. What I'm talking about is if a conference completely goes away.
Well, but if you're Oregon or Washington and Arizona State and Utah, is money truly everything? If you're Oregon and Washington and you stay in this quote-unquote Pac-12, whether Arizona State and Utah, even though Utah has won the last 2 Pac-12 titles, by the way, does need to be pointed out. But whether Arizona State and Utah stay or go, if you're Oregon and Washington, for the next 7 years, when you take travel costs into effect, you're going to make $7 to $10 million more a year by going to the Big Ten. Okay. How many times do you think you'd make the playoff if you stayed in the reconfigured Pac-12 versus how many times do you think in those 7 years you're going to make the playoff being in the Big Ten? Wouldn't one more playoff appearance in the reconfigured Pac-12 financially be worth it?
And I think the interesting part is that Utah, if they leave, they're the best team in the Big 12, football-wise. I mean, whatever conference Utah ends up in, they're the best football team in that conference. If they stay in the Pac-12, they're the best football team in that conference going forward. If they go to the Big 12, they're the best football team in that conference going forward.
And apparently this doesn't matter? I mean, so winning doesn't matter to Phil Knight? I mean, isn't that why you put all this money into Oregon? Hundreds of millions of dollars. You want them to win, right? Where do you think you have a better chance of winning? In a Pac-12 without USC and UCLA? And to show just how much nothing else matters, and I do mean nothing else matters. Mark, 3 of the last 4 years, what school won the title for being the best athletic department in the country because their sports, all of them, achieved the best results?
Probably Stanford.
It is Stanford. It is. Texas beat them 1 year in the last 4. But Stanford's won 3 of the last 4 Sears, Learfield, whatever the heck titles, cups they award. Yeah. Best athletic department in the country. Might have to be an independent in a year because apparently no conference wants them. It's a hell of a landscape. Got to admit. It's a hell. Not only that, academically, school's not bad.
This just in.
Got a few notable people who are alums. Their list to bring in the commencement speakers bigger than yours and better. Just saying.
Well, and David, what's never going to, I shouldn't say never because we don't want to use that word, but what you and I advocated, it has to be 6-8 years ago now, if not longer, is that football should be its own entity.
Yes. Really should. It really should.
And I know Title IX is a great thing and it's done wonders for women's athletics, but college football should be its own thing and it shouldn't count.
We said really from the beginning of Miller and Moulton, and this is our 17th year together, we said that, Social Security supposedly is not part of the national budget. It's like its own entity. Well, that's what we thought football should be. And we thought we could make the legal argument. And we're both very pro women's sports. Very pro women's sports. Both have daughters also. Okay. But we could make the argument there is not another sport like football. Every other sport has a scholarship limit of 15 or less. This one's got 85. Okay. The same thing would be in reverse, by the way. If it was a female sport that had 85 scholarships and all the other male sports didn't have more than 15, it would be like, well, come on. Don't we just common sense? We take this, we put it to the side, and then the rest of the school, we play by the rules, 52-48, whatever your student ratio is and your scholarships, and that makes sense. I mean, it's common sense, right? Never mind the money that's then devoted to this one sport versus the money that's devoted to these 24 others. We thought it was a very simple legal argument that could be made without being discriminatory. We're not reducing a single female scholarship. At least in our mind, we're not. But anyway, but because it's part, it's never going to add up. And now its importance is everything, literally everything. I was listening to MLB Network Radio yesterday because I'm a goober. And there's one host who's into college baseball. And he said, I hesitate to bring this up because I know there are 4 of you listening right now that care. But he goes, Pac-12 baseball is awesome. And it's about to end. And he goes, and if I want to go through the history of college baseball, going all the way back to the great Arizona State and USC teams in the late 60s and early 70s, he goes, this is disgusting. He said, what's going on here? He goes, and not only that, all these great, the Big 12 somewhat into baseball. He goes, but these Pac-12 schools, if they go to the Big 10, he said, Big 10 doesn't care about baseball.
Not in the least.
And he goes, Major League Baseball should be paying attention to this. They get quite a few guys from the college system. It's not the NFL. It's not the NBA, but they get a lot of guys through college baseball. This is not a good thing.
But think about, the Big 12 now, and the Big 12 did care about baseball and does care about baseball, but Cincinnati doesn't. West Virginia doesn't. The other sports will suffer. There's no doubt.
And listen, I'm sure hoping for great success for UCF in football. I don't know if their basketball teams are even going to be 500 anymore. Man, oh man. They play basketball in the Big 12, boys and girls. Just so you know. This ain't the AAC, okay?
No more East Carolinas on the schedule. That's been replaced with Kansas. Good luck.
Right. And not only that, when UConn was in your conference and you had to play them twice a year, there's like 4 of them in this new conference.
At least.
Right.
In a bad year, there's 4 of them, David.
Right.
In a good year, there's 6.
Right. So, just saying. So I hope that football thing, I hope it's great because, man, the winners are going to suck, just so you know. If you're a basketball coach at UCF, better rework that contract. Hey, these bonuses. Can I get a bonus for 500 in league play? Because if I'm 500 in league play, I'm going to be coach of the year.
Damn right. 500 in league play, you're a 7 seed in the tournament, David.
I know. So, I don't know. I know what I'm coming off as. I am. I'm coming off as wistful. Okay. I don't want to come off as whining, but I'm not enjoying this. For as much as it makes for a great sports talk radio show, Mark, the sports fan in me hates this.
College football realignment, whether David hates it or not, it's coming full steam ahead. Pat Kirwan, he's coming full steam ahead in about 45 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, remember when we were talking about Belichick and how many wins he needs?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a list right now that says he's 18 behind Shula. Because remember, they count playoff wins in this. I got Shula at 347 and Belichick at 329.
What do you have Belichick as?
329.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing you are on Pro Football, and Wikipedia has a completely different numbers. Pro Football Reference has Shula at 328 and Belichick at 298. Now, I don't know.
Well, but that's, I think,
That must
regular
be regular
season. Right. Andy Reid's going to pass Tom Landry. Mike McCarthy's going to pass Bud Grant this year. And he's going to pass Joe Gibbs. And probably Mike Holmgren. And Mike catch Mike Shanahan. You got anything?
Yeah, Zuckerberg's order, the arena football fiasco.
Good. Including playoffs, I think Tomlin's at 171. No. Yeah, 171. So he's 3 behind Holmgren, 7 behind Shanahan, 7 behind Jeff Fisher. Mike Tomlin's 30 away from the top 10. Dan Reeves is 10th. Mike Tomlin's 38 behind Chuck Knoll. That's going to go over well.
By the way, we got to talk about that tournament in the bonus hour.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's big. Think they'd spend any money?
Don't think they'll have to. Although, boy, if they spent just a little bit just to get the word out.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan will join us 40 minutes from now. Josh Graham in about an hour and 15 minutes. He does afternoon sports talk radio in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He grew up in and has worked in the heart of ACC country. They're not very happy with Florida State there.
It's safe to say they're angry with Florida State.
They really are. They are Richard Gere, Julia Roberts in the bathtub. They are. 10 years of therapy later, I can say I was angry with my father. Yes, that's where they are right now with Florida State. Although if you're the ACC, I'll tell you what, you'd probably take, a scene with Julia Roberts in the bathtub. That would probably make you feel a little bit better with all the uncertainty
Even now.
that's in your future. Absolutely. So Josh Graham to join us in an hour and 15 minutes. Make sure you go to floridasportsnetwork.com, sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit. It's a week from Tuesday night, the 15th. It's in Fort Myers. It's dinner and Dr. Roto. Get all the information you need for your fantasy draft, then all the information and tips that you need on a weekly basis to be the best GM possible and to win money at fantasy football. We do it for you. Dinner and Dr. Roto, our Fantasy Football Summit, a week from Tuesday, the 15th in Fort Myers. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and sign up.
So there were these rumors a while back that Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, Facebook, whatever, was going to fight Elon Musk. They were matching up these fights. So Zuckerberg started training to be an MMA fighter. And he's bulked up and he's beefed up and he looks pretty good. More reasons to hate him.
Right. Wait, so now he's rich and dare we say he could almost be handsome?
No, I don't know about handsome, but he's in really good shape.
And he's still got the face.
Yeah, I mean, you can't avoid that face.
Yeah.
But he's in good shape, right?
He's in amazing shape.
He's jacked.
Yeah.
You got to admit, though, a checking account does make you look a little better.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Okay.
But this may make him look better to you, David.
Okay.
Because he divulged his McDonald's order.
Ooh.
And he only weighs $150. So for a 150-pound man, this is a legit order, as he's been trying to bulk up, David. 20 nuggets, a quarter pounder, a large fry, a McFlurry, an apple pie, and maybe some side cheeseburgers for later. Are you at all impressed with a 150-pound man making an order making a Moulton-esque order at McDonald's? And I would dare to say even more than a Moulton-esque order, because he's going with dessert, something you generally shy away from.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more solid food in my order than his, but I mean, that's impressive. That's a good effort. I mean, the 20 nuggets, please, whatever. But a quarter pounder although he said quarter pounder, I think you got to throw the slice of cheese on it, dude. But that's
I think that just goes without saying. They don't even really offer the quarter pounder anymore.
So, and then, okay, what did he go? Small fry though?
Large fry.
Large fry. Okay,
And a
that's
couple of cheeseburgers for
on the
late.
side. A little something for the effort. Now, I have to admit, if you had the cheeseburgers then and you brought a couple double cheeseburgers home for later, that's, now we're talking. Now we're in the ballpark. I mean, I can't admit, I had no idea the last time I ordered something less than a double. I mean, I don't order the double quarter pounder with cheese. I just order single quarter pounders with cheese, but I can't remember the last time I just ordered a cheeseburger. I mean, that's got to be a double cheeseburger. I'm not interested. Well, I know what I'm ordering today. Okay.
You gonna go with the Zuck?
I will. I'll be in line, and I'm a Catholic and it's Friday, so I know what I should order. And you know what? For the heck of it, I may just order one of those. And then I'll order my 2 double cheeseburgers.
I'm impressed. When I first looked through it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But at 145 pounds, do the nuggets, a quarter pounder with cheese, a large fry, the McFlurry, and the apple pie.
Oh, that's for a 150-pound guy who I'm guessing didn't hit the drive-through very often before this. No, that's impressive. That is. You know what? I mean, I'm not willing to say he's one of the people, but that's a good attempt. That is. We'll let him into the club while he's training. I mean, as soon as the fight's over, you're out, but that's okay.
Give it up like if they ever were to fight, he's giving up like 70, 80 pounds.
For the record, I think Zuck would take Elon.
What?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
What?
I know Elon is a big dude, but...
Felipe, you're 23, correct?
Yes.
I'm 57. If we fought, who do you think would win?
Are we really doing this right now?
Felipe, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Okay, I'm 5'10", and
Right.
I weigh 195.
I'm 5'10", and I outweigh you.
You want to just leave it at that?
A lot.
By at least a quarter pounder with cheese.
But where you are higher up in, I guess, pounds and strength, if you want to call it, because, you have dad strength.
Felipe.
I have mobility.
Felipe, okay, just say it. What you have in fat, I have in agility. That's the case that you're making.
Here's the thing with your agility. At some point to win a fight, you have to get close to the other person.
Exactly.
If for a race, Felipe, my money's on you.
Oh,
yes.
Legs.
Right. Felipe,
on you.
If this was a game, if this was a little, a half-court game of basketball, it's on you. You're younger, you're quicker. I'll wear down. I'm not in as good a shape. Felipe, this is a fight. I'll just stand there and wait till you get close enough.
Yeah, you can dance around for an hour and a half. I'm just
honestly,
I'm going to tackle you, and it's going to be over at some point.
It would be like fighting Grimace.
Yes, it would.
Okay,
there. You know what it was like?
In that Grimace, though.
Yeah.
You know what it would be like? It would be like fighting a 45-year-old George Foreman. And eventually you got close enough and he knocks your ass out. Okay. That's what happened. Just ask Michael Moore. He was 20 years younger. Okay. And was a dynamic fighter and left-handed to boot. Great jab. He was never going to have to get close enough to George. And he got just close enough.
But Elon doesn't know how to fight.
Yeah, and Felipe, I'm not trained. I've never, worked a heavy bag. But Felipe, I do know I would hit you at least once on your chin, and you'd have a really hard time getting up.
David, if I knew how to fight, I'm taking me.
I'm paying money to see this. I want the gloves on. I want it for charity. I got something to work on for the weekend. What we've got to work on now is our play of the day. Felipe, I don't think you have boxing skills. What do you have for a play of the day?
Please. It's still the dead season. We're nearing football season. The preseason doesn't count. But there was some history last night. Diana Taurasi became the first player in WNBA history to score 10,000 career points, and she did it on this three-pointer.
Diana Taurasi may etch her name in the history books. Taurasi, 3. Diana's done it. She is 1 of 1. Taurasi
the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history. She only needed 18 points to reach the milestone. She scored 42 points.
Well, she's pretty good.
She's pretty good. Yeah, this just in.
Right.
The GOAT, as they call her.
So that's our play of the day. Mixing it up. I mean, Ohtani homered again, but, come on.
That's every night,
seemingly.
Yeah. Who cares?
Well, I don't know about who cares.
Well, not who cares, but yeah.
I mean, he's got 40 after all. I mean, he's going to seriously challenge 60 while pitching every fifth day.
And fighting off cramps.
Right, and blisters.
Has there ever been a unanimous AL MVP?
Yes. Many times.
And there'll be another one this year.
Yes, exactly.
It'll be second in 3 years. In fact, people are wondering why he didn't win it the 1 year he finished second. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
My lawyer buddy Bob sent me a text saying, you guys are really messed up.
Why? Because of the fight?
Yeah, the whole fight analogy thing. Friend of mine, Jonathan, sent me a text that said, the young bucks just don't understand. Okay. He said, I'm 6'1", 210, Moulton, but if I got close enough to you, I know you'd hurt me.
I love it. Chris Hagan in the Twitch chat goes, besides, old men fight dirty.
So my daughter and her best friend, I had to watch the grandchild yesterday because they went to a self-defense class. And so they come back. And you remember that Eddie Murphy scene about, in the parking lot after watching a Rocky movie and they're all jacked up? So they come home and and my daughter starts, acting like she's going to hurt me. And I'm just sitting on the couch looking at her. And she goes, Dad, what would happen if I attacked you right now? And I go, is this serious? She goes, yeah. What would happen if I attacked you right now? I said, well, for about 3 to 5 seconds, I'd be stunned. I go, so, whether it's the best punches you have or if you chokehold or whatever it is. I go, for 3 to 5 seconds, I'd be like, what the heck is going on? I go, but after that happened, I go, I would throw you up against the wall. I go, you would projectile through the air and you would hit the wall like something out of a cartoon. I go, she's like, no.
What?
You attacked me. You just said, what would happen if I attacked you? I give you 5 seconds to, pretend. I'm like, is my daughter on meth? I mean, what is going on here? But eventually, I have to get you off me.
Wes, David wins in a golf match. I suck. Terrible at golf.
I think that's the MLS regular season resumes on the 20th, but they got this, what's this cup they're
Leagues
playing?
Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's what you have to look for.
Yeah, so I think he's probably got one coming up probably this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I just think Elon's a pansy. That's all.
He's much bigger though.
He is. He has such a weird body.
I mean, Zuckerberg would have to have real boxing skill. He'd have to be able to get in, get out.
And I think he can. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe. Once again, though, if this is like UFC, there are no rules, basically. You could just, Elon could just grab him and hold him, and then Mark's in trouble.
For example, I think Ronda Rousey could kick your ass.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, my goodness.
I do too. You're talking about a trained. That's why this guy who's going off, whoever's in the YouTube thing about Jake Paul, got to take him seriously now if he beats Nate Diaz. First off, when he fights a real boxer and beats a real boxer in boxing, then I'll take him seriously. Yeah. He's fighting MMA guys and making them box.
True.
It doesn't mean what he's doing is not a good spectacle and people are enjoying it and all that.
Yeah.
But he's got to go fight a boxer before I take him seriously as a boxer.
I'm with you.
That's all.
Mm-hmm. And a boxer that's like in your class.
Yeah. No, I mean,
because he's a big dude.
Yeah, I think he's a cruiserweight. So go fight a cruiserweight who's won a couple of fights.
I didn't even know that was a class.
That's in between light heavy and heavy.
Huh.
It's like, about 195?
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
I've got Messi playing Dallas on Sunday.
Well, there you go.
Is it in Miami? Or
It is.
Fort Lauderdale? Drive Pink Stadium?
No,
I don't know.
Toyota Stadium.
Ooh.
That must be Dallas.
For Messi's first road game. I wonder how he'll handle the trip.
Here we go. Let's do that arena story.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Pat Kirwan joins us at the top of the hour. Josh Graham joins us 1 hour from now from deep in the heart of ACC country where they are angry at Florida State. Angry. Either shut up and go away or just shut up. That's basically their attitude. We'll talk to Josh about what he thinks about his beloved conference and where it goes from here, and Florida State and Miami's role in it or out of it 1 hour from now. If you're just joining us, nothing officially happened overnight with Arizona State, or Utah. The Arizona Board of Regents met. The recommendation is for Arizona to go to the Big 12. Arizona wants to go to the Big 12. The Big 12 has invited Arizona. So that's going to go down today officially. Arizona State's the domino we got to pay attention to. Arizona State doesn't want to go. The Board of Regents wants them to stay with Arizona. If they go, then that'll make 15 schools. The Big 12 would then invite Utah to make it an even 16. And Utah has indicated, even though they don't really want to go, that they would go. Then we'd wait for next week, the Big 10, Oregon, and Washington. What are they doing? Rays lefty Shane McClanahan's on the IL. tightness in his left forearm. That's his pitching forearm. They can't find the extent of the injury, so more tests are wanted. Baltimore won. Rays are 2 back. Marlins lost to the Phillies. They're a half a game out of the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, the Reds would be the final wild card, and the Marlins would be a half a game out.
Wait a couple of days and watch the whole thing turn around in complete upheaval, because the Reds seem to have the ability to lose 3, win 3, lose 3. They are as inconsistent as it gets.
Well, it's the Reds, the Marlins, and the Diamondbacks right now who are the 6, 7, and 8 seeds. And I think there's a lot of us wondering, is this like a horse race? Look out for the 9-seed Cubs and the 10-seeded Padres. Or really one of those two horses going to actually end up in the playoffs?
Padres got it to a game beneath 500, but they open up a 3-game set with the Dodgers this weekend. It seems to be what the Padres have done, David. They get right up to the 500 mark, have a series. I would almost bet they lose 2 or 3 this weekend, go back to 2 games below 500, and we're not sure what the Padres are come Monday once again.
Cubs just 2.5 back in the Central. They are on a roll, baby. They are on a roll, having won 3 in a row against the Reds after losing the opener of that series. So we had an announcement a couple weeks ago about something near and dear, well, more to my heart than yours.
To your heart.
Arena football is back, baby. And what's it, like 12, 16 cities, something like that they announced, and 2 of them are in Florida.
16 cities, David, or 18 cities. I'm sorry, 18 cities.
Wow. 2 of them in Florida, though, right? Tallahassee and Orlando?
Guy by the name of Jake Russell, who works for the Washington Post, tweeted out the cities: Austin, Boise, Bakersfield, California, Chicago, Denver, St. Paul, Minnesota, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Cincinnati, Ohio, Orlando, Salem, Oregon, Philadelphia, San Antonio, Tallahassee, Nashville, Everett, Washington, and Odessa, Texas. Those are the new 16 teams in the Arena Football League.
Will that field in Boise be all blue?
It's a great question. Will they even play? Because some people have done some work after that article came out. Ryan Kelly in Tallahassee reached out to the arenas, the city, and both major universities. None of them knew about a team in Tallahassee.
This is like when 20 years ago, I was still in local television sports. You were still helping to run the minor league hockey team, the Florida Everblades. And there was a story on the internet about Cape Coral, which is across the river from Fort Myers. And you guys had the only arena in the 239, worth a darn at the time. And they were going to build a twice the size of you arena, and they were going to have a hockey team and the whole deal. I drove down to you. What do you think of this? You told me off the record, this is never going to happen. This is crap, but I will take your free publicity. Tell me when we're rolling.
That's it. My favorite one, though, is the team in Bakersfield, because it apparently is going to be owned by a team by a guy by the name of Tim Robinson.
Okay.
When they called Tim Robinson said, well, that's me, but there's no Tim Robinson here. That's an alias. Then he gave his real name. Apparently, the Bakersfield franchise is a complete joke.
Who are we calling? Oh, Tim's running it. Well, that's not his name. Just ask for Tim.
Salem, Oregon. The mayor and the Marion County commissioner both said they had no knowledge of an AFL team coming to Salem. Cincinnati. Reporters from the Inquirer couldn't find any arena operator who had knowledge of being selected to own an Arena League franchise. In fact, the GM of the Heritage Bank Center, the largest arena in Cincinnati, did tell the Cincinnati Business Courier that his arena would not host an AFL team.
Why?
Don't know. Didn't want one. Building availability, whatever the case may be.
Wow, you're that busy, dude? You can't have football, air conditioning, and beer? What a snob. Well, Mark, I have to admit, it sounds like we could get a franchise in this league. Apparently, it doesn't take much.
I might reach out to this Jake Russell and say, I'd like to add a team. We're going to have one in Fort Myers, Florida.
Right.
You're going to have one in Jacksonville.
Exactly. We'll have our own Florida division. Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Orlando, and Fort Myers.
Hell, if you have the lucky ticket, you could have the whole league at this point.
Mark would punch me in the neck if I won Mega Millions and spent it on arena football.
No, I'd just make sure I got a high-paying job in that league, David. I'd still work. You could pay me to run your league into the ground for you.
I'd let you run the Fort Myers franchise. I would. That's just. Although I have to admit, I'd be worried. So who's that on the Zoom call? Well, we call him Tim. I'm sorry, what? Is he wanted by the FBI? What are we doing here?
So arena football may not be happening, David. I don't mean to
man.
bum you out, but it looks as if this league does not have a lot of there.
Got to admit, it's not on the solid footing that I was hoping for. Oh, boy. Did you see the story, by the way? Pat Kirwan coming up in 15 minutes' time. We've been promoting our Fantasy Football Summit, Dr. Roto, a week from Tuesday, the 15th. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and sign up. Dinner and Dr. Roto. You'll do really well in your fantasy league. So you guys, because I don't play fantasy, and I should. I mean, I always wanted to be a general manager. There's a chance to be a general manager, and yet I don't play.
I was going to let you draft my team this year.
I love drafts, and I'm pretty good at it. Okay. I'm just not good at playing week in, week out.
I may make you my GM this year.
So, you guys have bets, season-long bets. And like if, Mark, you beat me, you and I would bet cash, maybe some food also involved. But, some of the bets are, hey, kind of like when, what was it? LSU in Florida played in the College Baseball World Series, and a lot of former LSU and Gator alums, professional athletes, made bets. And like, did you see the picture of Chris Doering on the flight, sitting right at the front of the flight in full LSU garb, head to toe, stirrups and everything?
That's terrific.
I totally agree. So apparently there's a story that's making the rounds on social media. And apparently the loser, the guy who finished last in the fantasy league, had a golf wearing a dress.
That seems tame. I've seen worse
Yep.
of what the last place guy has to do, but.
And so, of course, they took video of the guy wearing a dress. First hole. And apparently he's got to play at least 9 holes. First hole in the dress. He holes out from 160 yards.
No.
I'd wear a dress every time I played.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is amazing.
It's when the golf gods have looked down upon you and said, that's how you handle it.
Exactly. Look at the rest of the guys in the league and you go, make this bet every year.
Now, if you got to play the red tees with that, it'd really be a bonus.
Well, let's not go crazy, but that's all. So, you fantasy players out there, what your bets are. And I guess you guys in your leagues, you have the crazy to the worst finisher in the league. It's like a separate, you make all your side bets, but then there's a standing, whoever finishes last, they've got to blank.
Fantasy football punishments are when men are at their most clever because they get real creative with these punishments. I mean, you have to fly out to any city on earth and then come back in a day type stuff. Or,
it's an expensive trip.
Yeah.
Really. Don't you need to win your fantasy league to be able to afford the punishment?
No kidding.
But, clever is one word for it. Okay. I'm sure there's a few people in fantasy leagues that are going, yeah, I don't know if our punishment's clever, but maybe cute, maybe sophomoric. But Anyway, so there you go. So if you see a guy in a dress in the middle of the fairway, all right, it may be because he finished last in his fantasy league. Just saying.
Or it was this guy who did finish last and hold out and now is wearing a dress every time he plays for the rest of his life.
Right. It's because he's got his handicap down in single digits.
Wouldn't that be nice? 21,000's the text line, 21000. Love to hear any of your fantasy bets like that. That would be fun if you've done something that has embarrassed that person who finishes last in their fantasy league. Sled Puppy said, my buddy had to drive around for a month with a blow-up sex doll in his passenger seat.
Oh, Twitch chat, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
By the way, my mother is sending me stories of when students who were of a decent size thought that they were going to give a teacher a hard time. And this was back in the day when a teacher could actually put their hands on a student. Okay. And she had a gym teacher, Mr. Klein, okay, who picked a kid up by the scruff of his neck and brought him right up face to face and basically told him what he was going to do to him if he continued to behave a certain way. And the student apparently was over 6 feet and over 200 pounds. And my mother said, Mr. Klein never had a problem with that student ever again.
Ah, the good old days.
So
when you feared your teacher because they actually could hit you.
And not just in Catholic school. Right.
No.
Well,
No.
no.
No, I was always happier if the second grade teacher used, her paddle on me, because if you went down to the principal's office, that paddle hurt a lot more.
Yeah, it was wider and thicker.
Yes. Mhm.
Yes. Right.
Hung right behind her desk. You could see it. Just for the intimidation factor if you got called down to that office.
Paddles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Unreal. I
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
I've heard it all. And then they got the holes in them so that they can swing faster.
Absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Felipe,
There
you
were
ever
3 holes in Mrs. Eater's paddle, if memory serves me right. That's nearly, that's 45 years ago, Felipe. I remember it like it was yesterday. If you think those things didn't work, you're crazy.
Ooh, even the nuns had the paddles.
Or just a backhand.
Felipe, my mother used to beat me with a wooden spoon. Okay. And she used to be, and I asked her one time, why'd you beat me in the kitchen? And she said, because one time I was beating you with a wooden spoon and I broke the spoon. Okay. So I wanted to be close to the drawer that I could just reach over and grab something else and keep beating you. And so, and unfortunately, she grabbed the spatula and that thing had whip to it. And that was worse. Okay. So then for the next couple of years, she was beating me with the spatula. That hurt. The spoon wasn't bad. The spatula hurt.
And don't even let a nun get a ruler anywhere near you, because then
Oh.
it's game over.
Throw that thing like a tomahawk.
No, they cracked you on your knuckles.
Oh.
Put your hands out and they cracked you right on the knuckles.
Sometimes Pat listens to the show, the segment before he comes on. Okay. Boy, I hope he was listening to this one. Okay. Because Pat's just a handful of years older than the both of us. And so if you think we have stories,
Ooh.
Does he have stories? But Pat Kirwan's already started his training camp tours. And so we're going to ask him where he went, what he's noticed, and what he's heard. There's still plenty of good players out there to be signed. Like in Dockway, the Bears signed yesterday for $10 million. It's a good signing. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan, followed by Josh Graham, talking about what's going on with the ACC. The 8 o'clock hour is next.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Lauderdale.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
We're going to have to call Pat.
Did you send him a?
I did.
Okay. I'll ask him. Yeah, we got to call him.
All right, you got to call Pat. Do you have Pat's number? Yep, he's got it. Okay. Kind of what I figured.
Pat, you there?
I'm here.
Morning, Pat.
Good morning, guys. Just get my notebook out here.
I'm a little disappointed. Pat called me Chris twice.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Why I did? Because this is the phone number I had for that guy from ESPN, Chris, and it never changed the name. Chris Boswell.
Interesting.
Or Bosworth. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I know how much he's loved by those guys.
Loved.
I was just doing my laundry. You know, every so often you got to do some laundry on this trip. Everybody good?
Everybody is good. How about you? Where are you at right now, Pat?
Getting ready to do the scrimmage for the Steelers. I was with the Steelers all day yesterday. We got game scrimmage tonight, Payne. I've been to Buffalo, Detroit, New England, here, and then I'm
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton along the network. Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The Diamond District bonus hour is 1 hour away in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com. Download any part of the show that you ever miss. Also, while there, sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit. It's a week from Tuesday night, the 15th. Dinner with Dr. Roto and all the fantasy info that you need to have a great draft and then do well in your league. floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us once again. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us from Steelers camp. He'll make his way to Canton for Hall of Fame weekend at some point. He joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, dozen points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. How's your tour going?
Doing well. It started with the canceled flight, which I think we all realize is part of being in America these days. And hopefully we don't have any more canceled flights. But there I was in New Jersey, unable to get to New England, coming off the plane from Europe. And so I was on the Amtrak local train. So 6.5 hours later, I was in Boston. So it's otherwise been fine. And, I've seen 4 teams now, and I feel like I have a pretty good feel for all 4 of them. So we can start where you want: New England, Buffalo, Detroit, and the Steelers.
Well, let's start with New England because nationally there are no expectations for that team, but it is Bill Belichick. Bill O'Brien brought in to run the offense. Just what differences do you see with Jones, the quarterback, in the limited time you're able to see them?
Well, Billy O'Brien knows him from Alabama days, and I think he has had a real thoughts about things to feature with him that they were not doing last year. And I think they're comfortable that he's moving along. But honestly, I just said this yesterday. This might interest you, Mark. I thought Kenny Pickett is ahead of Mac Jones in his development. At least when I watched him practice, I thought Pickett's starting to do things that Mac Jones is still trying to develop. So I think there's a ways to go with Mac. I like him. I think they figured out they could try to run the ball and win. But every time I hear a coach say we're going to run the ball a lot, and I know Belichick loves to run the ball, sooner or later in the National Football League, you got 2-minute drills. You have to come from behind games, all this stuff. And you can't hide your arm or your passing skills. So I think they got work to do. I don't like them at the offensive tackle position. That's the one I thought going into this when we talked about him earlier in the spring that I was concerned with. Trent Brown's still standing there, not working out. Riley Reef is getting beat by Keon White, the second-round draft pick. Connor McDermott, who's been a journeyman since 2017, looks like he might win the starting job at right tackle. So, and in the inside of the offensive line, where I really do like the starters, as soon as those guys went, one guy's on PUP, the center's an older player, Strange got hurt a little bit of practice, boom, they're right into rookies. And that is not the case at other places. Pittsburgh's backup offensive linemen were all starters at some point last year. That's not the case in New England.
All right, just sticking with the Patriots for one more comment. Much is made of, life after Brady. but they also had a bit of a brain drain. Dante Scarnecchia is probably one of the 3 best offensive line coaches in the history of the sport. And he also has retired here in recent years. I think we're starting to see, it's not just losing arguably the best quarterback of all time. They may have lost the best offensive line coach of all time.
I think you're all over it. And I'm not down on the kid. They've got Adrian Clement here, who played for Dante. And I asked Bill about that. He said, look, he does things Dante's way. I think Dante still communicates with him, but it's not Dante. So getting a line ready that's going to have tackle questions and interior backup questions where they're all rookies, I think that's going to be the challenge. And I don't even know if Dante can get that thing ready to go in time to stay with the pace of the AFC East, which looks like it's going to be pretty brutal. So I think they got their work cut out.
Well, then they'll
be fine.
We'll go in order. You went to Buffalo next. Last year, Buffalo was the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl at this point. I don't know if that pressure hurt them at all or if it was just Von Miller getting hurt and that destroyed it. But when you look at the Bills, are they mentally different than they were a year ago? Because the expectations were extremely high on Buffalo last year at this point.
Well, the expectations are still there, Mark, and they believe they have the team to do it. They did spend a lot of their time and money on backups. So when things go down, and you referenced Von Miller, that in theory it won't happen again, and that's why they get Leonard Floyd in here. And they even put in Puna Ford. So they've got backups with a lot of starting experience. And then Taylor Rapp, I asked Brandon Bean, I said, how'd you ever get him to come here? And he goes, honestly, he wanted to come. You look at their 3-safety defense with Micah Hyde back and healthy and Jordan Poyer, who decided to stay, and now Taylor Rapp. They can be, and Sean McDermott coaching the defense, they're going to be intriguing. And I think they feel like they are full of backups that can play. They did the same thing in the running back group with Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, David Edwards. And, I asked Von Miller, I said, Von, there's 5 guys here that came from the Rams. How'd that happen? And he had a big smile on his face. He recruited them, and he got them to come. So we'll see how it goes. I think their roster is deep enough to be considered Super Bowl team. And they really have a couple players to give if they're going to take a phone call or two. And I think they will in August. They're going to have an extra defensive end now. Almost every team in the league would love another defensive end. So Epinesa and Boogie Basham are here. Jack Lawson, Rousseau, Floyd, and Miller are ahead of them. So they've got plenty of extra guys around. And in the secondary, the same thing. Dane Jackson. You look at their backups, and that's why I think they have every right to think they're going deep into this thing and maybe to the Super Bowl.
Well, they're definitely deep along the defensive line and in the secondary, but they're very thin at linebacker, particularly inside. If Milano gets hurt, they got real problems. I keep looking at Anthony Barr out there or somebody like that. Can they go, just find somebody just in case, God forbid, they need them? How about Gabe Davis?
Hold on a second. Anthony Barr, because his name came up yesterday. Apparently, people think that he's got a deal waiting for him in New Orleans. And I don't know, I would never underestimate Mickey, but I know another team or two that are after him. So he's got action right now.
Okay.
Anthony Barr, for the reasons you stated, maybe tough for Buffalo to get him.
Very quickly, Gabe Davis disappointed last year when it looked like he was going to break out and be their solid number 2 receiver and help take some of the pressure off Diggs. Is he going to be good enough to be a legit number 2, or are they going to have to rely on their tight ends, the one they drafted and the one that they have, and go that route?
I think you get asking a great question. Davis is on my list of guys that have to step up, and it's a short list with this football team, but he's on it. The more I watch Dalton Kincaid and the way they're playing him, they're really playing him like a wide receiver. So I think their answer is going to be more 12 personnel. We'll call him a tight end, but then he's going to be flexed out wide a lot. So that's what they're thinking. I think Kincaid is going to pressure Davis. If Davis doesn't deliver, you'll see a lot of Kincaid next to Dawson Knox.
A lot of different looks that Buffalo can do with that 12 personnel then when you have a tight end like Kincaid coming into it. We go to Detroit. The Lions are a team, I'm a Michigan native. I grew up watching this team my whole life. I'm having trouble thinking of them as a division favorite. Pat, what did you see at camp that makes it look like they're the division favorite?
Well, I do think they are, Mark, and I haven't been able to say that since I met you, and now I get a chance to say it. Why do I think that? I think the quarterback he was having a great camp when I was there. And they look so, here's probably the way I should say this, they look so far ahead offensively than New England, than Pittsburgh. They just look like they've got a lot of things working. They're going to count on a rookie tight end, Laporta. I don't like that. And I think sometimes he looks very athletic and everything else. And he looks like he's going to be very good, but they need him to be very, very good right away. So that part of it is a little bit of a concern. St. Brown has definitely emerged as almost a superstar already. He's already, what has he got? The most receptions in the first 2 years of his career of any receiver in the history of the NFL. So they got weapons on offense. Montgomery is head coach Dan Campbell told me, we don't have the problem giving Montgomery the ball 20 times a game, and they're going to do that. And then there's Gibbs. Gibbs, to me, because Dan Campbell's in New Orleans, he sees Alvin Kamara in Gibbs and the kind of things they do with him. So all that's looking great. The offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in football. We graded them out that high. And even the other day, they're giving Ragnow the day off, and Graham Gratz, who they just picked up, walks on the field, and they don't miss a beat with that. So I do like them. I think they will. How many games do I think they'll win? I think 10 is the number for them to win that division.
Well, if you think about it, though, if Goff's going to play at a fairly, decent or better level, which is what he played at last year, they have a good receiving core if they can ever get the one kid not suspended and not hurt. Okay, and they have a legit one receiver. They've got tight ends and running backs. They have a second best offensive line in the league next to the Eagles. I mean, shouldn't they win more than 10 games, or is the defense that poor?
Well, they absolutely revamped the entire secondary, and we'll see. Mosley's in here, but he's on PUP. Cam Sutton, they're really counting on Cam Sutton to be their premier corner coming out of Pittsburgh. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's here. So they got a lot of veterans in the secondary. I think that's going to help them, too. They're going to have a rookie middle linebacker in Jack Campbell, who I'm a big fan of. I don't know why you wouldn't think they should be able to do it. The defense will be challenged up front. I don't particularly think their defensive tackle population is great. I think it's just average. So people that want to run on them, that can run on them, that don't have to catch up to the point score that Detroit might deliver, they could find a home run on the ball against these guys.
Well, and Campbell's been very cognizant of the fact that the hype train's, just steamrolling through Detroit. How does he keep him off the hype train and back on the winning and get him on the winning train?
Yeah, he's really in tune to that. It's a daily message. It's the morning meeting message. When I was there, I'll just to make a point, maybe 10,000 people at practice. I've been there when nobody's at practice. The place was mobbed. People were screaming and yelling and cheering like I used to see in New England when they were coming off a Super Bowl. So that's where the crazy enthusiasm is. The media is kind of promoting it as well. But Dan is beating it down with a drum every day. And the veterans know. And the guys that have been somewhere else that have won listening to him. And then they're letting the news spread to the young guys.
By the way, the Lions announced yesterday season tickets sold out. First time in a long time. First time since they moved to Ford Field that they sold out season tickets.
I'll make one more point about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to hold it till after the break if that's okay.
Okay.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, CBS Sports, brought to you by Pinchers. Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, where you cannot fake fresh. Miller and Moulton, more with Pat Kirwan on the other side, right here, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Pat, you know how hard I've been. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
You know how hard I thought the Bears front office did a terrible job last year. I really like with the Bears. I thought they had an excellent draft. I love the tackle from Tennessee. I like their offseason. I love that signing yesterday. I think, I know they needed to spend some money to get to the floor, but, when you got 22 sacks as a team, I mean, they can compete. I mean, if the quarterback takes the big leap, I mean, they actually can be competitive in that conference.
They can be. But I don't want to bash them because I'm not there, but Jimmy did go, and he does the Bears. So, but I'll just tell you what he told me. He thought Justin looked terrible.
Interesting, because, God, the hype machine on him so far has been off the charts. He's been hyped so much.
He's got to be very careful. I told him, don't even say it publicly. You're covering the Bears. You can't start there. And so, but he said to me, he goes, not good. He said, still patting the ball, still trying to figure out where to go with it. He's okay if he can figure that out, but he's going to get sacked. He was disappointed. Maybe that's the best thing to say about that.
But I mean, as opposed to like the first offseason when all they did was take care of the defensive side of the ball and they didn't help him out at all. I mean, he's got a couple wide receivers. They took care of Komet, finally settling on him. They should have been giving him the ball 2 years earlier. I mean, they actually have some potential on offense. The line's still not good enough, but I mean, at least they can be a representative offense if the quarterback's ready.
They absolutely can be in the mix and end up, I think being like a 9-win team or something would be a giant step for them. But signing the pass rusher, honestly, it's because they didn't have anybody.
No.
But he personally has never been a lead dog. Like, to me, he's always been the second rusher. And he's like an 8 to 10 sack guy, which is great. They need it. But I'm just going to wait and see how the offense looks. But with Green Bay being someone told me they didn't think Matt LaFleur was going to make the season.
Well, it's very interesting. If you think about it, how intriguing is Green Bay at Chicago week 1?
Oh, that's a big-time statement game for who's made progress and who's really going to be around come November and December.
And 2 quarterbacks drafted 3 years ago in the first round, one who hasn't played and one who has.
I'm going to take Chicago in that game, I can tell you, but just hearing Jimmy talk about, and he spent 2.5 days with them. So It wasn't just one practice. He saw him 3 times. But we'll see where it goes.
All right, off air, even though we're on Twitch right now. You know how high I am on the Steelers, okay?
I think you're in a good spot.
Okay. All right.
You are onto something that no one else is really listening to or accepting that they could be in this race. It's like, here's 4th spot, sit in that, we'll see in 2 years. But they're not thinking that way.
They got 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. When people get a load of that Washington kid to go with Freiermuth, they could be the most dangerous team in a 2 tight end set in the league if they want to be.
Yeah, they had a 2-minute drill yesterday, drove the ball down the field against their defense. And who catches the winning touchdown on the little 6-yard choice route? The big man, Washington.
He's 6'7", 260.
Yeah, he just rolled into the end zone. Yeah, I like where they're going.
I do too.
It's tough to figure out who's going to be the worst team in that division.
Yeah, my thought with that division is 2, maybe 3 at the most wins could separate fourth from first. They'll beat each other up.
10 seconds.
In Pittsburgh last year split with all 3 division teams. They're thinking they can get a 2 winner on somebody.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, who has begun his training camp tours for NFL Radio, New England, Buffalo, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. So far this week, he'll spend the weekend in Canton, Hall of Fame and all. And then the road show continues next week. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
All right, Steelers camp, Pat. This is a team that David Moulton has been very high on for a couple of months now. It's a division that, to me, is very hard to predict what's going to happen beyond Cincinnati. What are you seeing out of the Steelers?
Well, they had a lot of concern in the offseason about their offensive line, and they should. They have done some things to help that, and it looks like they're going to reap the benefits of all their efforts. Broderick Jones looks to me like he's on his way. He might struggle a little bit early, but they are rushing him along, and he's accepting of it, and he's also very athletic. Getting Suomalo in there from Philadelphia is really, really good for them. Power run blocker. They intend to run the ball behind. Najee Harris needs a place. But the thing that I love most about them and the offensive line is that their backups all have started. You think about Dan Moore had to play a lot. Dotson played a lot. Kendrick Green played a lot. Herbig comes over from the Jets. And LaRaven Clark's been a journeyman. But they don't have to play a rookie if someone goes down. And Mike Tomlin was very interested in talking about that. Like, we're not saying Broderick Jones will go out there and that's it. Everyone else who's going out there have played a lot of football, and they think that's going to help them quite a bit. The tight end thing is almost awesome to watch. They had a big scrimmage yesterday, ran a 2-minute drill, and who catches the winning touchdown? Darnell Washington. And they hit him on the 1-yard line trying to stop him, and he just bowled his way in. So I think we got a little glimpse of what they're going to do with that guy. So I like them. Najee Harris, I'm going to talk to Najee in about an hour. But I know he's got a big smile on his face with the offensive line improvement. And I wouldn't go so far as to say superstar, because that's not, I can't say that about more than 3 or 4 guys in this league at receiver. But that George Pickens, he looks almost unstoppable at times.
What about the Steelers that, when they signed Patrick Peterson, to me, that set off alarms. I love their offseason so far. Love what the new GM has done. He's been aggressive in free agency, and I love it. What are they thinking with Patrick Peterson? I mean, he's old and slow, and yet they gave him good money. What's the thought there?
I asked that question of Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to see Omar this morning too, and I'll get Omar's version of Patrick, because my question was really kind of like your question. And Mike was quick to say, I've known Peterson a long time. I knew him as a high school kid in Florida when he was at Tampa. He knew him. He said, I met him when he was 17. I've always wanted to coach him, and he still has play left in his legs. And so we'll see about that. But that's exactly how Pete Carroll talked to me about Ronnie Lott. I knew him when he was young. I always wanted to coach him. And it was the same speech. So Mike had a lot to do with bringing him here. And when you look at their secondary, you really can't find a guy that you say, oh, that guy can knock him out of the box here and beat him out. And then Patrick would be on the bench. They need him to play well. So we'll see how that goes. Joey Porter had an interception yesterday of Pickens. Pickens was scrambling around. He thought he was throwing it out of bounds, and Porter went up in the air and was able to bring it down inbounds like a toe tap. So, Patrick Peterson, people are going to go after him, I think, and test him out. And I think people went after him last year. So I don't think much has changed there.
You raved about the Steelers' depth on offense. Defensively, are they in the same boat? Because obviously, TJ Watt goes down. Things were affected dramatically when he's not in the lineup. So how is their depth compared to a year ago?
Good. Very good, as I see it, because they went and got Marcus Golden, who's not a starter anymore, but he's a legitimate NFL pass rusher. If Watt were to go down, I talked to Highsmith yesterday. If you guys, he looked good. He looks like he's put on 20 pounds of just muscle. So those two guys between them should generate over 25 sacks. That would be in my opinion. Behind them will be Marcus Golden for sure. And then they're going to hope that Herbig, the kid they drafted. And, the one thing you can say about these guys, David's our historian. David, did they make many mistakes in drafting outside linebackers?
And wide receivers. I don't know if anybody does a better job at recognizing wide receivers and outside linebackers and incorporating them and coaching them up than the Steelers over the years.
So, I think anyone who had Watt or even Highsmith who had 14 and a half sacks, if you have those guys, you're holding your breath that what's behind them can do what they do. We found out that wasn't the case in Buffalo with their defensive end. So, they're going to wait. But Golden is at least a veteran here. And he'd be a guy that could go on the field and not panic and still be able to give you a rush. They'll probably just turn the protection right to Highsmith like they did last year. Highsmith started getting all that fly protection to him, but he still overcame it. But the thing about why they should have and did pay him is that when Watt was down, he delivered. A lot of times the second rusher can't deliver when he's the lead dog.
Only a couple moments left. It's Hall of Fame weekend. Class of 9, the old school guys, the late Ken Riley, Chuck Howley, the late Don Coryell, and then modern players, Joe Thomas, Darrelle Revis, DeMarcus Ware, Rondé Barber, Joe Klecko, which I'm guessing means a little something to you, and Zach Thomas. Just curious, your thoughts on the Hall of Fame class of 2023.
Yeah, well, I hope they all make it, which they won't, but I like Ken Riley to make it. I think it's beyond time for him.
No. They're all in, Pat. They're all in.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want who I liked? I thought you wanted.
Yeah, just your thoughts on the class.
I had goosebumps when Joe Klecko came out on the field last night. Did you see how he was walking? He gave his body up for the NFL game, and there's not much left of it. He's banged up, but I just felt so great for Joe. And Joe lived out by me too when I was younger, and I got a chance to talk to him quite a bit. And so that's the one. And Joe Thomas to me is the guy that figured out pro football without having to, give up his body and everything else. Even the day of the draft, the guy went fishing with his pops, and he was one of the best to play. And so those guys, and Riley for me is interesting. It's maybe at a later date I can talk to you a little bit more about Hall of Fame stuff.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. CBS has the Super Bowl this year in Vegas. Pat will be joining us Tuesdays and Fridays when he can during his training camp tours, which will continue for the next couple of weeks. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers. Pat, safe travels, get some rest, and we'll talk next week.
Yeah. Thank you, fellas. Have a good day. And I'll be off to Cleveland, Washington, and Baltimore for the next 3 days.
All right. There you have it. And then we'll probably talk to Pat in the early part of next week, and he'll report on in. Did you hear the Peyton Manning, Joe Thomas story?
Outstanding. Peyton Manning wanted Joe Thomas when he was in Denver. And
his last year, as it turned out, 2015, yeah.
And knew that Cleveland would not trade Joe Thomas. So he told Joe Thomas to demand a trade by taking a dump on the general manager's desk.
You're going to have to do something crazy. You're going to have to do something nuts, okay? And then they can say, you've become a distraction. You're a problem, blah, blah, blah. They can badmouth you on the way out the door. Come here, protect my blind side. Come on, Joe.
Needless to say, Joe did not take Peyton up on his offer.
Of all the things to go. Well, what am I going to do to get traded? I have an idea.
It just shows you that we know so little about Peyton Manning.
Exactly.
For a guy who's been out there in the public eye, there's a dark side to Peyton Manning. And I think I want to know that dark side.
Absolutely. Because we've seen the sly Eli sense of humor. So now we have a feeling that Peyton's got kind of the biting, almost sarcastic, dig humor.
Maybe that whole Sports Center commercial with the two of them giving wet willies to one another and all the stuff was just a tip of the iceberg of what goes on in the Manning household.
I was going to say that was just two guys who were 10 and 13 all over again, right?
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. We will talk some ACC with Josh Graham. He is next right here on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks for listening.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Who's that guy we talked to a couple of weeks ago? He used to cover the Dolphins. He kind of is a freelancer right now. He's based out of Gainesville. Talked to him about the NFL. He was a little late coming on.
Cote?
No, not Greg Cote. He wrote the book about Shut Up, Your Kid's Not That Good.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
You guys have had Greg Cote?
A long time ago. Haven't had him in the last few years.
Oh, crap. Jason Cole.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, San Diego. Yeah, Adam, I think Pickett's better than you think. And the talent around him's better than you think.
George Pickens is him.
Well, listen, sometimes teams just get it wrong. I mean, when Pickens was dropping and the Steelers took him, I mean, we all were like, God, I don't know, that guy was a stud in college. It's just like, who's the Ole Miss kid who fell in the second round and Seattle took him? And he's
DK.
yeah. And I mean, it was just like, and he was dropping, and you're like, did they watch him play in college? And he's 6'4". What the hell? Sometimes they just get it wrong. They draft that kid from Arizona State instead of Justin Jefferson. Oh, Lee. It's like, I'm sorry. Did you see them in college? At what point did you think the kid from Arizona State was better than Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, Jalen Reagor.
Yikes. The Eagles haven't made many mistakes, but yikes. Because they wouldn't have had to trade for A.J. Brown.
Right.
Of course, it's funny how it works out. They may not have been in a position to draft Devontae Smith if they had drafted Jefferson,
The number I have for Josh Graham is like a deadline. I'm not even getting a ring.
Damn. Shit.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope to catch up with Josh Graham. I think I got his phone number wrong, though. This doesn't happen. This is on me. My apologies to Josh and Mark and Felipe, if in fact. So try to correct that while we're doing the segment here. Want to talk a little bit about where's the ACC going to go from here. We think we know what's going to happen with the Pac-12. It's falling apart. Arizona is going to leave today. Arizona State is being pressured into going with them. Their president does not want to. If Arizona State were to stay and separate from Arizona, the Pac-12 has a shot to still be a conference, because Utah will then stay. And then maybe there's a better chance that Oregon and Washington don't take the half-price offer to go to the Big Ten, because the Big Ten reportedly is only offering them 35 or so million, when Big Ten teams are getting 70 to 75 million. And that's basically because Fox and CBS and NBC are only willing to pay, so much.
The ACC is the other part of this, and Florida State has made their announcements that, well, they'd like to leave the conference. But there's a grant of rights in the ACC that even a board of trustees says that it's ironclad in their estimation. And that's someone on Florida State's side of the equation. So how does this all translate into where we go next? And you have Oregon and Washington who are just waiting for the Big Ten to say yes. Please say yes. Please say yes.
Josh Graham is host of The Drive. It's weekday afternoons 3 to 6 on WSJS in Winston-Salem. He's held down that slot for 5 years, doing an outstanding job. Life is pretty good for Josh, not only on the radio, married in the last year, and his beloved Orioles are kicking butt as well. So Josh should be in a good mood, except for what Florida State's doing. Josh, it's David and Mark. Thanks so much for your time. How are you?
Is it okay to bring up the Orioles when Tampa Bay is right there, like a couple of games back? Is that okay? Am I stepping into enemy hostile territory right now?
Well, listen, if Florida State is threatening to blow up your beloved conference, I think you're allowed to throw a grenade back.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just to use a Bubba Cunningham expression. I'll try to refrain from doing any barking over the next 10 minutes.
All right. Well, how is this sitting in ACC country? Because we don't think Florida State's very well liked right now. I don't know what, if all, they can do. We understand the grant of rights. We understand exit fees. But how much have they, for lack of a better term, just pissed off the rest of the ACC? Or is the ACC waiting to see what Florida State does?
They certainly have annoyed the rest of the ACC, and that's evident when Bubba Cunningham clapped back the way that he did yesterday. And you got to consider who the source is when that guy's the one that's responding. You see these reports from very credible sources saying that if the SEC had its pick of the litter of schools they would like to add, or even the Big Ten as well, Florida State would not be at the top of the wish list. It would be North Carolina. It would be like South Carolina, which are both it would be Virginia, since they already have a team in South Carolina in the Southeastern Conference case, because those are new geographic areas they have not yet reached, and huge brands that are within those geographic areas. And North Carolina, their AD is out there saying what he is, defending the ACC, saying that you need to respect the grant of rights and respect the TV deal that you agreed to, when in theory, Florida State might have thought they had an ally in North Carolina with what they espoused earlier this week. We heard back at spring meetings, the Magnificent Seven and North Carolina and Florida State were allies in that regard. It's very much so not the case. But I will tell you what school I'm interested to hear from. I'm interested to hear what Clemson has to say. I want to hear what their AD and university president has to say, and whether or not they side more with the rhetoric we heard from that Board of Trustees meeting a couple of days ago, or if they side with what Bubba Cunningham had to say. And there's also symbolism there where, as long as the ACC has existed, North Carolina has existed. And I feel that there can't be an ACC without North Carolina in it. So the fact that they're the ones that are pushing back the way that Bubba Cunningham did, I think is significant.
Josh Graham, weekday afternoons, The Drive, WSJS in Winston. Follow him on Twitter at Josh Graham Show, Josh Graham, Graham Show. Do you think yesterday was show, or do you think yesterday was legit? Let's be honest. Tony Petitti 2 weeks ago, or last week actually, Big Ten Media Days, we're not interested in expanding on 16. A week later, looking into Oregon and Washington, Greg Sankey, we're not interested in going beyond 16. Well, that could change in an afternoon. I mean, Josh, do you believe Bubba Cunningham and North Carolina and wanting to keep the conference together? Because there's a lot more money out there for North Carolina if they want to move.
Well, you got to have a place to go first. And that's the problem with all of this with Florida State. It's the thing that's so nauseating about sitting and listening to those people with those titles that sound important, like Board of Trustee member, and then you look at what they actually do for a living aside from what they do at FSU, and they're incredibly bright, or they should be bright enough not to continue to say the same talking point over again of, we're not making enough money, we deserve more, we need to get out, we have options, we have great prospects. How are you going to get out Like, all these FSU fans on Twitter, I hadn't heard from in a decade because the team hasn't been good in that time. Like, that, talking about how we're better than this league and all these things. Couple of things. Number one, can one person explain to me how you get out of the grant of rights without spending close to $500 million? Somebody explain that to me so I understand it, because Florida State does not have that a few years removed from paying Willie Taggart close to $20 million. They don't have that. They also, the second piece of it is, if you were to get more money in one of these conferences, who's to say that that means it's a birthright to success? Because last I checked, FSU is the highest athletic budget of any school in the ACC right now, and Wake Forest has won more than they have since 2014. Haven't even played for an ACC championship. Haven't really been relevant in 7 years. And again, you're taking the position that you're better than the conference, that you deserve, to use the word that was said about a dozen times during that Board of Trustees meeting, you deserve more. It's absurd. Like, if it came from Clemson, like, I would at least take some of their point and say, yeah, well, you've won the conference every year but one over the last decade. I wouldn't like it, but it would make sense. But you would think Florida State dominated the way that Clemson has, hearing the way that those people talked a few days back.
All right. Taking everything that you said, and let's just take Florida State and put them to the side. How do you think the ACC going forward survives making so much less than the SEC and the Big Ten? I mean, I get it. The only way to dissolve it is to completely dissolve the conference. And that's why that Magnificent Seven was talked about. And I get the reasons why. But Josh, what type of disadvantage do you think this puts the ACC in going forward?
It's just that. It's a disadvantage, but you could still compete. You could still win. Last I checked, you live in a pretty big state. There's a lot of talent in that state. I live in a pretty big state. A lot of talent in this state. There's more talent to support there's enough talent to support more than 40 teams across America. There are. Like, this idea that one team makes more than the other team, that means that team is going to flat out win. How's that worked for Texas the last dozen years? You mentioned baseball at the top of the conversation. The Rays and the Orioles are dominating the American League. The Yankees are in last place in the American League East. They haven't won a World Series in 14 years. There's no salary cap in that sport. The Knicks spent more than anybody in the last 25 years. How's that gone for them? Like, this is the lie that university presidents sold and that Florida State's really pushing, because they continue to use words like existential crisis. That is quoting multiple times, existential crisis. When they say that, it's a lie sold to fans. It's a lie sold to players and coaches to blame the losing, to blame the lack of competitiveness in recent years on the fact that you don't have enough. And that is a loser's mentality, that you can't win because you don't have enough when you have the largest athletic budget in the ACC, and it hasn't changed in a long time. So you can compete. Jim Phillips is right. We can criticize him for a lot of things, but he said in his last two availabilities, we're third. We're third. If we're in an existential crisis, air quote, how do you begin to describe what the Pac-12 is going through right now? If the ACC is in a crisis, to quote Florida State, what words matter? What words would you attach to a conference that is literally falling apart as we speak?
Final question, Josh. Do you sound very confident that Florida State can puff that the ACC is going to stay together? Do you believe that?
For the next dozen years, or for the next 10, yeah. Because Florida State, I don't know how they get out, and I don't know where they go. I don't know those two answers. Because if you could say the Big Ten, because the SEC is running, ESPN's running the SEC and ACC, and they're not going to want to mess with that dynamic at all and lead to paying more television rights. But the Big Ten would have to wage holy war against ESPN in order to try and pull FSU out. And I don't think they want to mess with the grant of rights. And my evidence of that is that Texas and Oklahoma still aren't in the SEC yet. That deal happened 2 years ago. They're still not in the SEC. Why? Because the grant of rights had not expired. Same thing for UCLA and USC. The grant of rights hasn't expired. That's why those schools are not in the Big Ten yet. So none of these TV networks, none of these conferences want to mess with what Florida State's talking about messing with. And until someone can explain to me how they can get out without paying $400 million plus, then I'm not really going to take the threat all that seriously.
Josh Graham, weekday afternoons, WSJS 3 to 6 in Winston-Salem. Follow him on Twitter, Josh Graham Show. Josh, all the best to you. You're newlywed, even though it's been a year now, and good luck for you and your dad and your Orioles holding off the Rays.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Josh Graham, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. There's a rebuttal. That's why I wanted him. That's why I wanted him. Take that, Florida State, and stick it.
That's what he said, not what David said.
Right.
Your reactions at 21,000, 21,000. That's the text line. What you thought of what Josh Graham had to say if you're a Florida State fan, if you're a Florida fan, if you're an ACC fan. A lot to digest there.
Right. If you're a Miami fan, I mean, listen, your future's impacted here. You don't have the money to afford to leave either. You need the entire conference to fall apart. So I do think it was interesting. It was the North Carolina AD yesterday that was sticking up for the conference.
Right. It was not, however, the North Carolina president.
Well, that's true.
Because there are things that North Carolina president's discussing that the AD has no idea about. Because this is actually above an AD's pay grade, too.
Well, yeah, they don't get votes in this. There's no doubt about it. You know, the head coach and the AD do not get a vote in this. They get input, but they don't get a vote.
And I don't even know how much input they get, to be brutally honest with you. This is a deal that's done well past the pay grade of an athletic director.
Well, I do think, though, if you're the president, don't you go to Dabo and say, listen, if we're stuck here for 12 more years at this financial disadvantage, can you still keep doing what you're doing or no?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens. The president goes to the football coach. I don't think the athletic director is needed.
Well, you know, he might bring the subs for the meeting. Might go get the food.
Bring extra condiments. Miller and Moulton. Port
Okay,
Charlotte,
sir.
Venice, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete. Have a terrific weekend. The Diamond District bonus hour is next on the Florida Sports Network.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, Adam, I got to admit, I don't know what you're talking about. First off, what does Mike Norvell have to do with where Florida State's going to play football? He's a coach. He has no say. Okay, so I have no idea what the connection there. Okay, and besides, you really think Mike Norvell has not done a good job? In 3 years, with one of them being a pandemic year, he took a program which had been run into the ditch and brought it back to the top 15, and they're going to be preseason top 10 this year? I mean, I'm sorry, where's he not done a good job? And Josh Graham's not a season-long regular. We haven't had Josh on the show in 2 years. And as for FSU, that's what we were wondering last year. Are they bluffing? Is this a staggering game of poker that they're playing, making it sound as if they have offers from one or two of the Big Ten SEC when they have none? Or does Florida State know they've got a deal in the drawer? And now, but what they want to do is they don't want to leave and have to pay the $300+ million exit money. They'd rather get 7 other schools and break up the ACC and have to pay nothing. I don't know about you, Mark, but I think Clemson is very happy with Florida State playing the villain. But Clemson privately is saying, here, here, keep going.
Well, Clemson would much rather be in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I would have said this 20 years ago, David.
Right, when the money was the same.
Right.
By the way, apparently, even Greg Swaim.
Okay, you lost your mic again. Whenever you touch that table, you're bump. I don't know what you're doing, but you hit the table and the cord goes out. So you're back now.
So Greg Swaim in the last hour has indicated that Arizona State is serious about not wanting to join the Big 12, and that the Big 12 may just take Arizona and be done. The Board of Regents in Arizona wants the two schools to stay together. At this time yesterday, Arizona State was not going to the Big 12. Throughout the course of the day yesterday and after the Board of Regents meeting, the thought was people were saying Arizona State now is going to bite the bullet, grit their teeth, and they're going to do it. And now apparently this morning they're waking up.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour, the Diamond District bonus hour here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. We do broadcast as part of the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, and that's where you need to go if you missed any part of our show. We had Pat Kirwan on an hour ago. Did 2 segments with Pat. He's been to Patriots, Bills, Lions, and Steelers camps. And we just had Josh Graham on, who does Afternoon Drive in Winston-Salem, and he lit Florida State on fire for their arrogance. And who do they think they are? And if you want to leave, fine. Just make sure you have a $400 to $500 million check. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's what Josh Graham had to say.
And he also thinks that the ACC is fine for the next dozen years, that the ACC doesn't go anywhere.
I think he's wrong. I don't think that schools will continue to have a $40 million, $30 million against the SEC, $40 plus million to the Big Ten. And I don't think they will continue to be comfortable living in that world of a financial deficit, even though he made a very good point that there's a lot of teams and a lot of leagues that are spending less and winning. I mean, you know, I root for the team that just spent $350 million, not including taxes, on a baseball team that's 8 games below 500.
But I thought his point about athletics and college sports, you know, the Texas analogy is the easiest one because nobody spends money like Texas. And it's not bought him anything.
Now, what to me is interesting is that there is no regard for what Florida State did for the ACC. I mean, ACC football before Florida State, I mean, that was laughable. I mean, Florida State joins the conference, and they joined it in what, like 93? Something like that? I mean, do we need to revisit, you know, the first 10 years that Florida State was in the ACC, what it brought to the ACC? So, you know, it is interesting that, you know, whatever goodwill Florida State had earned along Tobacco Road this week, especially, it's gone.
And not just gone, it's turned into animosity toward Florida State.
Right.
Now, the question that is out there is the animosity from the fan bases in the ACC going to translate to presidents of universities in the ACC? While Josh was talking about the UNC athletic director coming out and being very critical of Florida State and sticking up for the ACC, we have no idea behind the scenes what the North Carolina president is thinking and what the high-powered alumni and boosters at North Carolina are telling that president that they think about what the future is going to look like.
He did say something which you and I were nodding our head in agreement about as he was saying it. He said, North Carolina is the ACC. He's basically saying, you know, all this talk about North Carolina is going to get poached by the Big Ten or the SEC because they both want into the state. They don't have a team in North Carolina, and they'll grab Virginia too. They're both excellent academic institutions, and they're both top 10 populous states and blah, blah, blah. But as he was saying it, Mark, it made me think of, you know, why is the Pac-12 in the situation that they're in right now?
You said it yesterday, David. USC left, and they didn't keep them.
Yeah, they lost USC.
They didn't do everything that they needed to do to keep the most important team in the conference there.
Right. The Pac-12 is no longer significant conference without USC. That was the heart and soul of the conference. And North Carolina is the heart and soul of the ACC. I mean, it would be fascinating if North Carolina was taking the public stance that Florida State is, how the ACC would react. Whether people would be angry with them or not, if they are the ones threatening to leave, something's going to get done. I mean, Josh Graham all but said that too. I just don't, I mean, ESPN is not motivated to give that conference an extra dime for the next 13 years. They have a binding contract.
Unless, and we say it every day on this show, unless they get Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame made sure to let the word out yesterday that, no, we got a deal that we're working on. We're going to be fine, and we're going to stay independent. Whew. Really?
So if they're going to stay independent, I, for the life of me, don't understand why the Big Ten needs to add Oregon and Washington. I really don't.
I don't understand why they need Oregon and Washington, period. Whether Notre Dame joined the conference or not. I mean, listen, you and I have said it for 2 years. We don't think the SEC has to expand. All right? I think Florida State's a terrific brand. I think Clemson's a nice brand. I think the two of them are set up to continue to be top 15 football programs for the foreseeable future. I really do. I mean, think about it. Come on. If Florida State, Florida, Miami get their act together, they should never be worse than a top 15 program in the country. And Florida State didn't have their act together for 6-7 years. Now they got their act together. Guess what? They're good again. Billy Napier looks as if he's a mature adult and he knows how to do this. And it looks as if, give him a little bit of time, he's going to get Florida's act together. Guess what? They're going to be good again. Mario can recruit. We don't know if he can coach once the game starts, but he can recruit. Guess what? Then Miami's going to have really good players again, really soon. In fact, they may already have it. This isn't that complicated. But yeah, with that being said, if you're Greg Sankey, do you need Florida State and Miami? Do you need Clemson? And what if ESPN says, I'd love to have them, but I don't know if you've noticed, we're laying off 7,000 people. I've lost 2.5 million cord cutters in 7 months. I got an NBA contract to renegotiate. I don't know what to tell you. I can't give you I got college football playoff games I got to try to hold on to here. I've only had to pay for 3. Now there's going to be 11 of them.
And I want all of them.
Right.
And I know what those ratings are. And while Florida State's going to give me a couple of really nice rated games and Clemson's going to give me a couple of really nice rated games, I don't need them.
Do you know how much those playoff games are going to cost? About $100 million a game. And you want what for Florida State and Clemson? I already have them.
That's why I've said if there's any part of this Big Ten truth to this, I think it's there, because I think if Fox wanted to pull a coup, it's to bring Florida State, Clemson, Miami, whoever it is from the ACC. I think it's in Fox. If it's anybody's interest, it's in Fox's interest. And Fox is running the Big Ten.
If you're Fox and you're going to throw more money at college football, are you going to throw it to move Oregon and Washington into the Big Ten? Granted, you got to throw a lot less money. Or are you going to throw the money to maybe move Florida State, Clemson, crazy rumor that was out there earlier in the week, A&M? I mean, if you're Fox, you're like, oh, Oregon and Florida State, give me Florida State.
And think about it. Fox is losing Texas that they had with Big 12 coverage that they're now losing to the SEC.
And Oklahoma.
But I mean, to keep a footprint in the biggest college football state, you've got a bunch of Big 12 schools that really don't matter.
Now, it's tough to pay attention to this hour by hour. Arizona State is the next domino to pay attention to. Arizona today is going to officially leave the Pac-12 and join the Big 12. That will bring the Big 12 to 14 teams. The Big 12 is willing to go to 16. And they have extended invites to Arizona State and Utah. But apparently their commissioner, Brett Yormark, is like, yeah, you got till Sunday night. Otherwise, we're going to stay at 14. And apparently that goes for both. So, like, let's just say Arizona State gets, forced into staying with Arizona, but Utah doesn't want to leave because they don't. They don't want to be in the same conference as BYU. It's a bad look for them. Their ego can't handle it. And I'm not being facetious here. BYU is, Utah's sworn enemy. They badmouth them, and now they're going to scramble to just get to the same conference as BYU. No, that's a really bad look for Utah, and they can't handle it, apparently. So they really don't want to go to the Big 12. So Arizona State's the next domino to fall. And if that domino falls, it's difficult to envision the Pac-12 is going to stick around.
But if Arizona State stays,
then Utah stays.
stays. Oregon and Washington may stay for the time being.
And then maybe this conference can bring in a Boise and a San Diego State and scramble. Because, we've thrown it out here too. If you're Oregon and Washington, in the next 7 years, how many times do you think you're going to make the 12-team playoff if you're in the Big Ten? Versus how many times do you think you're going to make the 12-team playoff if you stay in the Pac-12? And if you're Oregon, what do you need the money for? You got Phil Knight. Honestly. And Washington just said to the Big Ten, our travel expenses would go up by $10 million. So we're making $20 million staying in the Pac-12. You're offering us $35. You take travel out of it, we're only making $5 extra million.
Problem is they're not guaranteed 20 with this deal in the Pac-12. That's if everything goes right. It could be more like 13. And oh, by the way, Apple's given them basically till the end of business today to answer the question of whether or not they're going to accept that deal.
I do love deadlines.
I like when they're extended to show how little sometimes deadlines mean. A trade deadline's a deadline. 6 o'clock. Period. End of sentence. If you don't get the deal done before then, it does not count.
Correct. So this is the world we're living in right now. College sports, college football, realignment. Been a hell of a week. Mark and I, last weekend, man, what are we going to talk about? We're set up late August. We got our guests lined up for the next 4 months, blah, blah, blah. How are we going to get to late August? And then Colorado said, we're leaving.
And that started the dominoes of falling. What happens to Arizona State? It's the biggest decision that'll be made today in college football alignment. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
In very Bears fashion, they have signed another tight end.
Oh, my God.
Mercedes Lewis. Debbie or Mello or whatever you want to be called by, it's an internet-only show. Go to Greg Swaim. It's S-W-A-I-M, not Swain. M.
Well, you know what we're also finding out is apparently Utah fans, apparently no one in the Pac-12 likes Utah's fans. That apparently very arrogant and nasty. And so Greg Swaim and others have been like, Big 12 fan, really, if you could do without Utah, do without them. You'd be a lot better off.
And it's not the mic filter. What he needs is a new cord connecting whatever because it falls. It's not. It doesn't click in properly.
Right. Yeah, it won't stay fully clicked for some
reason. You need to buy a new, better XLR cord for that.
Okay. I got something here if you need something little.
Perfect. Where are you going to be the day after Thanksgiving?
I don't know. My hope is I want to be doing that Big Ten game that CBS is doing. I want to double dip that weekend. I want to do Big Ten Friday and Iron Bowl Saturday. But I have a feeling I'll just be traveling the day after Thanksgiving. Why? Do you want to do a show?
I figured if we do it, it's 3 hours. And re-rack the 6 or 7.
Well, we could do that. I mean, I should know here, probably know by October.
Because Philly's probably going to be at my house for Thanksgiving because he's going to learn that the news people don't give him days off.
Huh.
Like this company does when he wants to take his week vacation with mommy and daddy. Like he's 16 again. Those days are gone.
Felipe, I used to treat Sharon Gregory, who was the main female anchor at the time, and myself. We would treat the production staff to Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving. No, I mean, we like rented the side room at Perkins. Okay. But I mean, we had turkey and the fixins and what have you. And we just said, knock yourselves out.
Nice.
Yeah. We ate with the production crew. I mean, people still hated me, but I was decent.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when. Final thoughts. All coming up in about 20 minutes' time. Make sure you go to floridasportsnetwork.com. Download our 8 o'clock hour. I mean, 2 segments with Pat Kirwan. He's been to 4 NFL training camps. Thoughts on Hall of Fame weekend. And also Josh Graham, who does weekday afternoons in Winston-Salem. And he pushed back on Florida State. Who they are, where they are, what are they thinking? It's entertaining. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com, and while you're there, sign up for the Fantasy Football Summit presented by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung.
Tuesday the 15th, Crown Plaza, Bell Tower. It'll be a great night. I would say you don't even have to play fantasy football to go because you will learn a ton about football, but it would probably make a lot more sense if you were a fantasy football player. It's a good night of football discussion, to say the very least.
And you do learn a lot. All right, you do learn a lot. I used to listen to Dr. Roto, even though I didn't play fantasy football, because he taught me so much about football that I'd use it on the show later on the next week. So there's a situation that could arise in Philadelphia tonight. Are you paying attention to this?
I am not.
So the Phillies, who just took 3 or 4 from the Marlins, and they are the 5 seed, I believe, in the National League playoffs right now. And they're in second place by a game and a half, I believe, over the Marlins. Their shortstop sucks. His name's Trey Turner, and he's not supposed to suck. In fact, his really good friend is Bryce Harper, and Harper kind of badgered the Phillies into saying, listen, he doesn't want to stay with the Dodgers. Could you just, make the offer about the same? He'll come to Philly. He wants to play with me. We need a shortstop. We've had a problem there for the last couple of years. Okay, he's a good young all-star. He's speedy. He hits 300. He's got 20 home run, 40 stolen base type player. Come on. And so Dave Dombrowski said, fine. How about like 12 years, 300 million or something like that? What do you say? Trey Turner said, done deal. Coming to Philly. So their shortstop problems were fixed, Mark.
Right?
Except, did I mention he sucks? He's like the worst shortstop in baseball. All right, maybe the third worst. But he's hitting 235. He's hitting 5 for his last 40. He's leading Major League Baseball in errors with 14.
That would be a problem at shortstop.
Right. I mean, if you can't hit the ball, can you at least catch it?
Right.
The one game the Phillies lost in Miami, you know why? Because the final out of the game was hit right at Trey Turner, and he let it get right by him. If he knocks it down even, the next guy has to come up for the Marlins to try to tie or win the game. But no, couldn't even do that. So, it's Philadelphia. I mean, you spend big money and you're not performing. What do?
They're all over you.
Right. So a couple of the baseball writers and columnists are like, listen, he needs our love. He needs our support. He's going through a tough time. I know you've been booing him, but then he went on the road and he actually got worse. He needs a hug. when he comes to the plate against the Royals tonight, how about a standing ovation? Tell him you love him. You're there for him. We're in this for the long haul together.
City of Brotherly Love come through, David?
Well, we'll see tonight. We'll see tonight. I actually think they will. I think now, don't get me wrong.
It'll be a bit of a Bronx cheer standing ovation.
I think it'll be half. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, it'll be about a 7. I actually think it'll be decent. Now, if he's 0 for 3 in the 7th inning, forget it. But to start,
David, if he's 0 for 1, and I mean, if it's not a line drive that's caught, you know what I mean. You know, a drive to the outfield, something where even a hard hit ground ball that he gets beat out, or that he doesn't beat out at first base. If it's not something along those lines, they will be booing him by the second at bat, guaranteed.
He's hitting .235 on the year. He came into this year with a lifetime batting average of just under 300. Between the Nats and the Dodgers, he had been a terrific player for the last half dozen years. Terrific young player. Athletic, can steal 40. And now with the new rules, I mean, Trey Turner was a candidate to steal 50, 60 bases. Hit 20 homers, Gold Glove caliber shortstop. Yeah, he's terrible. Awful. Black hole in the lineup, 14 errors at short, the most in baseball. Awful. And the Phillies media is like, listen, we need you to come through. You know, don't treat him like Ben Simmons. He needs a hug. Come on now. Take one for the team.
Oh, no, they'll give him I mean, it will be half sarcasm when they're cheering. I mean, there will be people going, hey! They'll do it loudly, so it'll sound good.
Is this like the guy who cheated on the girl and they were separated for a while, but the girl, he comes back into the family fold and it's like a holiday dinner, and how the rest of the family really wants to treat him, okay, is ignore him or spit at him, basically, okay? But she has said to them, listen, we're coming. I need you to be nice to Tony. I hate Tony. Tony sucks. I don't know what to tell you. You know, we're going to try to make this work. I need you to be nice to Tony. Okay.
Only it's a really big family.
And at the beginning, when they come in the door, everybody can not be nasty to Tony. But, you know, by the time the dinner gets going.
Put it this way. He passes the gravy in the wrong direction. They're all over him, David.
You know, they start imbibing a little bit, you know. Because that's the other thing. By first pitch, you know, maybe they're on their first beer at Citizens Bank Park there. But, you know, 0 for 3 in the 8th, and they're losing to the Royals.
It's a good day to give them a hug, though. It is the Royals. I know they've won a few more lately, but it is the right team to give a guy a hug for.
They've won 6 in a row, actually. Yeah. Catching them at the wrong time. So what do you say? That's something I'll be paying attention to tonight. Do the Philly fans give the Mark Miller sarcastic, okay, fine, you want a hug? We'll give you a hug. Hey, way to go, Trey. You're our guy. We love you. Don't worry, Trey. We're right behind you. He better get a base hit. Bum.
Major League Baseball, or MLB Network, should be all over this game tonight.
Got to show that at bat.
In fact, it's on MLB Network tonight.
Is it really? I mean, if nothing else, don't you have to go to the at bat? Even if you're doing another game, you treat it like a guy who's got a 40-game hitting streak. You start televising it as at bats.
So now I've got thank you for that story, because now I've got something to watch. Anytime that the reporters in Philadelphia start calling for a hug, a crowd hug, not crowdfunding, a group hug,
right,
for their shortstop.
Yep.
You know, the guy that's making millions upon millions of dollars a year,
right,
but it's the fans who are paying for him to make all that money that need to give him a hug.
Correct. $1 million a week, but he needs a hug. Yep. So just saying that we'll see how they react. I hope he starts 0 for 3. That's all or at least 0 for 2. Comes up because he'll be batting 7th or 8th. They're burying him in the lineup. I hope he's 0 for 2 and he comes up in the 7th inning in a tight game. Honestly, I can't wait to see the reaction.
David, what I'm actually rooting for is a little cynical of me, but I'd like to see what the reaction is if he gets hit by a pitch with his first at bat. Because I think they'd go nuts. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap. It's how we'll finish the week on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call. Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Mello. The guys on MLB Network Radio were like, yeah, he needs at least 2 days off. And that was before he went over yesterday. Did you hear the story? So he totally screws up Wednesday's game. And 10 minutes after the game, the media is in the clubhouse and they hear this sound. And it's a guy taking batting practice. And it's Turner in the batting cage. If I were the Phillies, I would have stopped it and I would have said, no. You're grinding too hard. Well, I will say, and Mello, Baum, the third baseman there, when he did it, the fans booed him. But then when he apologized and said he was frustrated, okay, then his next game, they cheered him. I mean, he did come out Wednesday night, face the media, and say, I was the reason we lost this game. I don't think they boo the first at bat. I really don't. Even if he makes an out, I think they'll. But then after that, I think anything's fair game. I think they'll try again the second at bat. Hey, come on, Trey. Telling you, though, he's 0 for 2. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, fam, we were talking about that. But we talked about it off the top of the show. The Arizona State president does not want to go to the Big 12. The Board of Regents in Arizona has recommended they follow Arizona to the Big 12. He doesn't want to do it. And apparently the Big 12 is like, listen, 14 or 16. Arizona's going to be 14. You guys don't want to come? That's fine. We'll stop at Arizona. We don't care. And then if Arizona State comes, it's like, okay, Utah. Mark, if you're Apple, how much less is your offer without Colorado and Arizona? I mean, if Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, and Utah stayed, and you got 8 teams, and then you're going to add Boise and San Diego State or whoever the hell you're going to add, SMU, whatever. I mean,
not much.
I mean, Arizona and Colorado can't be worth a ton, can they?
Colorado is worth more than Arizona. I don't know. Who's the most popular school in Arizona?
I think it's Arizona, even though Arizona State has many more students. I mean, they've got the huge, plus they have 100,000 online.
Right.
They have a huge online. It's the party school.
But I mean, you know, when I lived in Michigan, Michigan was clearly the number one school. And it was, I mean, there was not a canyon, David. There were all of the Great Lakes and a couple of oceans between Michigan and Michigan State. When you go back to Michigan and you drive around the state of Michigan, there's as much green as there is blue and yellow now. You know, car stickers and things like that, because Michigan alumni leave. I'm not saying that Michigan's not still the most popular, because they are, and I'm not debating that, but it's a lot tighter than it used to be. So I don't know what, you know, Arizona's like. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, Arizona State's baseball program's been better. Arizona's softball program has been much better.
Arizona program, though, is Arizona Hoop.
Yeah, men's basketball won a national title. Women's basketball lost in the finals a couple of years ago. Semesco finished second for that job.
Arizona State?
No, Arizona.
Arizona?
The year that they hired an alum, and within 2-3 years, she took him to the title game. Hey, do you want to mention that here before we go in the FGCU women?
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And when you visit them this weekend, don't be afraid to say, hey, you know, Miller and Moulton's the reason I'm here. They talk you guys up all the time. Hell, Mark, apparently he needs to get another job just because of how much he loves your guys' place.
I really do. I mean, if you're looking to list a house or want to buy a house, call me, because my wife could use some new jewelry. There's no doubt there. That's why I got the real estate license, David, just to buy the wife a new thing or two here and there.
You got the country club membership and she gets the jewelry. That's the deal. I get it.
It's a very fair trade.
So did you see the news before we get into good, bad, and ugly and all that? And, you know, there's not a lot of big draws to women's college basketball. Obviously, the FGCU women have been awesome for 20 years now. But LSU may have won the national championship, beating Iowa in the final, but who's the biggest draw in the sport, Mark?
Caitlin Clark from Iowa.
And where's Caitlin Clark from Iowa going to be around Thanksgiving?
She's going to be right here in the 239. Playing in the, what is it? The
Gulf Coast Showcase.
I didn't want to screw up the tournament. We have a lot of tournaments, and the last thing I wanted to do was screw up the name right there. That's why I left it to you.
Fort Myers Tip-Off.
Gulf Coast Showcase.
Showcase. There you go. And please, we don't even do the title sponsors with those. We want to get the names right, the dates, and the whole deal. So Iowa's in the showcase, and so's FGCU.
And they're potentially could meet in the second round. They'll both be favored to win their games. They could have a second round matchup, FGCU against Iowa.
Now, that would be the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
I know.
That's rivalry Saturday in college football. That's Florida State, the Iron Bowl, Ohio State, Michigan. It's a big college football day. I got to admit, if I was running that tournament, I would have pitted them against one another on Friday. I really would have. But then again, Mark, you got to figure, what, 2,500 Iowa fans spent Thanksgiving in Southwest Florida?
David, the buddy of mine who sent me the Swarm beer, their NIL beer, he's a big Iowa booster, works on their NIL board. He's dialed into the Hawkeyes. We were going back and forth. Told me on a text message, he goes, because I told him Michigan State's coming up there. Have they taken my pictures down at Kinnick? That's his joke with me, is that there are pictures of me and they won't let me in Kinnick Stadium. And he said, I haven't even thought about football, just trying to make sure I've got all my women's basketball tickets. It's the biggest draw in the state, and it's not close.
Well, remember, they invited her into the Pro-Am of their golf tournament. And here's Zach Johnson, who's from Iowa, Masters champion, Open champion, Ryder Cup captain. Yeah, whatever. Where's Caitlin? How's she doing? Man, she hits the ball a long way. Yeah. So
she could start our golf team too.
So that'd be cool. That'll be fun. You think 2,500? You think I got that right, or is that?
The rivalry week notwithstanding, I think they could. The women's basketball team for FGCU does 2,500 every time they play minimum.
2,000, I'd say. It's gone down a little bit.
Okay.
But I'd go $2,000.
All right. So I think they could sell out a game against Iowa at Hertz Arena. I think they could put close to 7,000.
Oh, easily.
Well, remember, we're a college football town. It's rivalry Saturday. It's the biggest Saturday of the college football weekend.
And it's Thanksgiving weekend, and there are a decent number of people in the 239 who head elsewhere that weekend. A lot come here, but also a decent number relocate.
But Caitlin Clark.
I know, but Felipe, having graduated from FGCU and been involved in their basketball games for the last couple of years, that the crowd in November and December at Alico is not the January, February crowd.
That is correct.
People have bought their season tickets, but they're not necessarily in the 239 to go. Well, and Mark, we talked about this, and I don't want to go much longer, but we believe that FGCU / the 239 could host a regional in women's college basketball. And could this game, if FGCU and Iowa could play against one another, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever it would be, okay, if they draw 5,000 plus for that game, that's a big women's college basketball crowd for first and second round NCAA action. That would, the NCAA would pay attention to that.
Pay attention, but I don't think enough to ever give them a region, because I think the Iowa factor. But I'm fired up. Caitlin Clark coming to Southwest Florida, 3 games. You're going to get them Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Saturday game could very well be against FGCU if they both win their first round games, which they should.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1753, George Washington becomes a master mason. 1910, David, they still had ties in Major League Baseball then because it was a pitching duel. The Philadelphia A's Jack Coombs and the White Sox Ed Walsh go 0-0, and they called a scoreless tie after 16 innings. 1936, Jesse Owens continues to piss off Adolf Hitler by winning his second gold medal at the Berlin Games. This one in the long jump. It was an Olympic record.
Real estate.
1945, Byron Nelson wins the Canadian Open. It would be his 11th consecutive PGA victory. Think about that. 1956, Elvis releases Hound Dog. 1982, a stat that only David Moulton will love. The rest of you may enjoy. Joel Youngblood becomes the only Major League Baseball player to get hits for 2 different teams in 2 different cities on the same day. He had a single for the Mets in the Chicago Day game. He was traded, and then he would single for the Expos that night against Philadelphia.
That's impressive.
Got traded in the middle of the game. Okay, and so he left, quickly got to the airport, short flight, got to Philly, got there like the 4th inning. They put him in 2 innings later to like pinch hit.
84, Carl Lewis wins his first gold medal. It would be the first of 9 gold medals over 3 Olympic Games. He did so in the 100-meter.
And he won 4 of them in the 84 games.
Also in 84, Prince's Purple Rain album goes number 1. It would stay there for 24 weeks. Interesting little baseball day today in 85. Rod Carew gets his 3,000th career hit in a 6-5 Angels win. And Tom Seaver of the White Sox becomes the 17th pitcher to win 300 games, beating New York at Yankee Stadium that night.
It was a Sunday. It was Phil Rizzuto Day at Yankee Stadium, and Seaver was pitching for the White Sox. And he went the distance, by the way, at like 39, 40 years of age. Went the distance in the win.
Today in 86, after winning the $3 in antitrust lawsuits, the USFL owners vote to suspend operations for the 86 season. They would fold before the 4th season. Today in 2007, A-Rod becomes the youngest ever to get to 500 home runs. And Barry Bonds would tie Hank Aaron's record of 755 today.
You know what my favorite part, because you know how much we were doing shows together, you know how much it bothered me that Bonds was tying and passing Aaron's record. But when he got really close, it took him a long time to get 755 and then 756. And so Bud Selig had to keep going to all of his games. And of course, Bud was close personal friends with Hank Aaron. Bud actually brought Hank back to Milwaukee as owner of the Brewers so he could finish his career where it started with the Milwaukee Braves. They'd known one another forever. And the pain and anguish on Bud Selig's face during all that was worth the price of admission.
And today in 2010, A-Rod gets his 600th home run on the 3rd anniversary of hitting his 500th home run. Louis Vuitton, Queen Elizabeth I, Louis Armstrong, Maurice Richard, and Richard Belzer all celebrating birthdays today if they were still with us. John Riggins is 74, Billy Bob Thornton is 68, Jerry Cooney is 67, Mary Decker is 65, Barack Obama is 62, Roger Clemens 61, Jeff Gordon 52, and your girl Meghan Markle, she's 42 today, David.
She is my girl.
I know. What did I miss?
Talladega Nights, released in theaters 17 years ago today.
Oh, wow. Another thing that makes me feel old.
This may surprise you. I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I love him. I like NASCAR. And I can do silly slapstick comedies.
Obviously not.
Clearly not, yeah.
Clearly you can't.
But that one, for whatever reason,
alone, that movie's phenomenal.
That one to me was just kind of okay. Like I watched it the one time and I'm like, all right.
Watch it again.
Shake and bake.
Watch it again.
Okay.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Eastern Michigan University for the good. Zach Conte has played 4 years at Eastern as a walk-on. At one point, he was selling plasma to help pay bills. In his final season, team captain Brian Dooley gives up his scholarship for Zach Conte. Brian Dooley, that's a little more than good. That's great.
It's awesome. Talked it over with his parents, said, can we do this? And they went, yeah, we could swing this.
For the bad, we go to Arkansas, where on Tuesday evening, an 18-wheeler tried to merge. It hit a wrecker, hauling an 18-wheeler on I-30. And David, the truck carrying nacho cheese crashed all over the highway.
Oh, no!
The interstate covered in nacho cheese.
Where's the Tostitos truck when we need them?
It's been so hot, it probably warmed up to about 130 on those highways pretty quickly. Finally, this is an all-time ugly, and you don't have to put earmuffs on the kids or anything like this. I love roller coasters. I am petrified of heights. It's a weird combination. The Magnum XL 200 roller coaster got stopped near the top at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, and the passengers had to walk down the stairs of the roller coaster down to the bottom. 205 feet in the air, this sucker goes, and it was nearly at the top when it malfunctioned, and all of the riders had to navigate their way down a very flimsy staircase on the side of the roller coaster. I would still be sitting in the roller coaster right now if that were me.
It only takes one strong wind gust. And
Oh, jeez.
You know what, Mark? I think my wife would still be there with you. You two would be talking to one another no matter how far apart your cars were. I don't think I could have gotten her onto the side either.
Oh, and that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 4th, 2023.
Wow, that's gonna have a few people kind of shivering the thought of that story. Rays are in Detroit to take on the Tigers. 6:40 start on Apple TV. I wonder if we can get it on, Bally's Regional if it's on Apple. I don't think we can. The Marlins, meanwhile, are in Texas to take on the Rangers. Remember, we said August is a brutal schedule for the Marlins, and they started it by losing 3 out of 4 to the Phillies, and it's going to get harder. Just saying. Sunday, 5 a.m., U.S. women's soccer team against Sweden, 5 a.m. on Fox, Sunday.
When you're awake, you can text me Sunday morning to remind me, because I will forget Saturday night.
So when I wake up Sunday, I can text you.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you're not going to get mad?
No.
All right, well, I just want to check. I mean, I know you're going to get up at a decent hour anyway. Wife drags you to church and all, but I just want to make sure. We leave each other alone. Come 10 a.m. on Friday, we usually don't communicate. We do the Regis and Kathy Lee Kelly thing. We basically, we walk out to the set together, and that's the first time we've talked to one another.
How was your weekend? And it's genuine because we've not talked to one another at all during the weekend.
Right.
Although I think with conference realignment still going, there's a chance the texting may continue over the course of the weekend.
Well, apparently Oregon and Washington would rather stay in the Pac-12 than take the half-price deal from the Big Ten. This is something.
It'll all keep churning along this weekend. Have a spectacular weekend, everyone. We'll do everything all over again Monday morning, 6 a.m. Until then, have a great weekend.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal